Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 19th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's nice to see so many people here tonight. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices. And I know somebody's going to miss that and the phone's going to go off. So somebody's going to be that guy, I promise. And so if you would please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we begin our meeting tonight in gratitude that we meet in freedom to exercise our right of self-governance. Help us never to take this right, purchased at so high a cost, for granted. We ask for your guidance tonight that we might make good decisions that promote the common good of all in our amazing city. We thank you, as always, for our terrific team of employees and volunteers. We ask you to bless them and their families. We pray also for all the students, teachers, and staff who are returning for the new school year. May they have a safe and productive year. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. So for those of you who don't frequently visit us, we have a tradition here in Temple Terrace whereby we begin each meeting with a brief, fun or interesting fact about the history of our city or something of note about our city or the region that we live in. And so we pass that duty back and forth. And I've noticed that when it falls on each of us, we've taken to try to find a stand-in. I think we're running out of novel ideas to share. And so I notice my colleagues are taking the cheap way out of this, Vice Mayor. So tonight we have the honor of having one of our firefighters, Alec Hasse, is here on behalf of Mayor Schisler. So Alec, welcome.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello.
Members of council, staff. My name's Alec Hasse. I'm a firefighter here with the city. And today I'm going to try to make a fun fact presentation for you guys. I'm not sure how fun it'll be, but we're going to go through the history of the Temple Terrace Fire Department from about the 1950s to about the 1975, so 25 years. I've broken this up into segments. If you guys ever want to have me back, I'll do the next 25 years.
Oh, you'll be back. You'll be back.
Yeah, of course, as a stand-in. Do we have the... Okay, perfect. So, I have a few photos to look at here. I'll kind of describe each of these images and kind of the time frame that they take place in. So during the 1950s, this was the official headquarters of the Temple Terrace Fire Department. It was the Golf and Country Club's barn that they used to do maintenance around the golf course. So at some point they allowed the fire department to start using it. We were all volunteer back then. So this is from the 50s. The city managers in this photo, the mayors in this photo, fire chief, and the whole entire department. Very different than what we have today. Very modest compared to what we have today. Can I use this to get to the... Okay, perfect. All right, by 1956, the city recognized the need to grow, began planning for the department's expansion. They were planning to build a fire station. And that same year, they bought this fire apparatus, which was a 1956 Jeep Willys Commando 4x4. We don't have a whole lot of these left. A lot of the city back then was rural. A lot of brush fires were happening. So this all-purpose vehicle could get pretty much anywhere. It had a 35-gallon water tank on it. I'm not sure how much fire they really were putting out. I think they just like driving the thing around. I mean, I'd like to drive that thing around. And then I believe that's Sutton Hall that picture's taken in front of. 1959, I gave Vice Mayor Schisler the fire chief's badge. So if you guys want to pass that around amongst yourselves. This was Bill McEwen's badge. A little smaller than what we have today. Kind of looks like the police department's badge. You see the city's seal in the middle of it. It's pretty...
Brian, can you get that? Probably pretty small. I don't know if he can.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to hold it up. It's small.
Well, let's see. Yeah, not too bad. It is small.
Close up.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's good.
that's pretty good. Thank you, Brian.
Nice hand modeling.
So this was the first fire station that was actually built. It was a police and fire station. It was at 104 Bullard Parkway. So nowadays, we have both fire stations. We have the one on Bullard, and then we have the one in Telecom. A little bit different of an operation than what we have here. Police was with us in this small headquarters that couldn't have been more than 800 square feet. Police now, third story of City Hall. So we've come a long, long way. And then to think that in the future we could possibly have another combined police and fire station is just, it's crazy because that was our roots. So, and then I have another picture here of outside of that station. They were doing some training. At this point, this is actually a little after the 60s. This is when they were building Station 1, just for reference. They ended up tearing this building down, and before they tore it down, they did a whole bunch of fire training inside of it, tearing walls up and doing forcible entry and stuff like that. So there's the building in front of what is currently Station 1. So, when I found this out, a lot of us didn't even know this building existed. It was right there on the corner of the property. So there's a picture of it getting demolished. So here's a picture of our first, I would call it legitimate fire truck. It's a Ford C850. This is the first fire truck that uses our current city's 3-digit numbering system. So it's pretty cool. This numbering system is still in place today, and that's the truck that it started with. And we kept this well into the 1990s. It was a 1962, and it lasted until the 90s. They used it for training for the volunteers. In 1964, James Bailey became the volunteer fire chief. That's Mr. Bailey there with the glasses on. This is a little after 1964. This is about 1978 when they bought the new ladder truck, and they were testing it out. But there he is there. 1967 marked a big turning point for TTFD. We hired our first 3 paid firefighters. They were Lloyd Raisin, George Pinner, and Jim Bronson. So we transitioned from an all-volunteer department to a combination department, volunteer and career. Today we have over 50 career firefighters. Oh, and I'll mention in this photo they're rebuilding the 1962 Ford fire truck. The engine blew up on it. This is about the 1970s, and the shift guys were rebuilding the engine. I don't think Chief Kemp would let us do that today. In 1969, James Bailey became the first paid fire chief. So shortly after our firefighters became paid, they started paying the fire chief. It makes sense. It makes sense that they'd pay him. And he was making $150 per month. He was still working only part-time, so they didn't want to pay him a full salary just yet. This photo was taken in 1972 after the firefighters organized the first union, local IFF 2160. And this gave them a formal voice in wages, benefits, and working conditions, and this is still the union that we have today. And you can see there the city seal in the background. I believe that's here at City Hall, but I might be mistaken on that. In 1974, the department added a Chevy Custom C30. This is long before EMS and fire were combined, and this is what kind of jolted us in to EMS. So this truck had a bunch of Band-Aids and tourniquets and all sorts of stuff on it, just to allow the department to give first aid, mainly for the firefighters on fire-related calls. If any of them got injured, they could help the other firefighters. But this laid the groundwork for medical care, which we have today. So there's another picture of Chief Bailey. That's inside of the current fire station. In 1975, he became the first full-time fire chief. So that's a picture of him in his office. And I think that's it. Okay, so we've come a long way as a fire department. We're still growing a ton. And, to think back to being in a barn that was given to us and thinking of where we're at now and where we're going is just, it's incredible. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'm, lucky to
Thank you,
speak
sir.
with you all.
Alec, that was terrific.
Well, thanks.
That was really good, thank you.
I have one question.
Sure.
Were you in any of those pictures, James?
I wasn't in them, but I drove those trucks.
Did you really? Okay.
I love the picture of the mayor and city manager. I'm like, it's not the same one. So, okay, next I'd like to invite Alicia Baker to the podium, please. Good evening. How are you? So Alicia Baker is being recognized tonight as the July Employee of the Month. And for those of you visiting us, this is not selected by management. This is selected by the employees themselves. And so this is really a tremendous honor because the bar is pretty high among Temple Terrace employees to begin with. And for those people to select you as the Employee of the Month, really is, that means something when it's coming from your peers. So Alicia is a Recreation Leader 4 at the Youth Programs Coordinator at the Temple Terrace Family Rec Center. If you go to the rec center, you'll always see her. She's not only loved and cherished by all the children in the after-school and summer camp programs, but she's earned the respect of her peers and loyalty from the children's parents as well. She has a consistent and calm presence with the children, parents, and staff have come to rely upon. She addresses all parental inquiries and concerns and manages participant behavior when necessary. That's a very kind term for that, yes. Alicia has a can-do attitude about everything she does, and not just the youth programs she coordinates. She also helps with other programs such as gymnastics, tennis, and others. This summer, she's shown an exceptional effort in making the programs fun for all the summer participants and staff, including planning field trips, organizing and implementing daily games, activities, and crafts. Alicia's always seeking out new activities that are not only fun, but offer a learning process as well. For example, this summer, Alicia worked with Becky Zarella from the fire department. That's a scary team there. I'm glad I wasn't around for that. She worked with Becky from the fire department to introduce a fire safety and cooking class, which all the kids enjoyed. In addition to coordinating the program activities, Alicia also hires and trains a small army of camp counselors and junior counselors and provides supervision and guidance to all her staff. Alicia has a shining personality and a positive attitude, which is appreciated by all those who know her. And I would like to congratulate Alicia for being July's Employee of the Month. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. So I just want to thank all my coworkers for nominating me for Employee of the Month. I don't take it lightly and I don't take it for granted. It warmed my heart that they thought of me to nominate me for Employee of the Month. So it is an honor and a privilege to be the Employee of the Month of July. Thank you.
Let's give her a round. Stand up here. I know exactly where Mary wants us to be.
Perfect.
And you take the, there you go.
All right.
Okay, hold on. Let's get the leisure services folks. Leisure services, come on. Corey.
Come on, Corey.
I know.
You want to just a little bit? Perfect. Yes, right there. All right. There, thank you.
Okay, Next up, we have an appointment to our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. There's one vacancy on the BPAC, or the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We received one application from Jonathan Forbes. I don't know if Mr. Forbes here. He is. Would you like to say a few words? You don't have to, but it's optional. You're here. Welcome, Mr. Forbes. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council, staff. My name's Jonathan Forbes, live in Forest Park, been here for about 11 years. This council appointed me to the county's BPAC in 2016, and in 2018 I became chair for Hillsborough County and then transitioned to a citizen-at-large position. So after 40 years of working in the insurance claims business and observing and managing over thousands of accidents involving cars, pedestrians, and bicyclists, and now that I find myself here up in the city more, I decided to apply for this position since I don't really make my way down to downtown anymore. So thank you for any consideration that you've given, and I can answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes, and thanks for being here tonight. So that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Council members, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Mr. Forbes to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
For the term, can you specify the term, please, just so it's in the motion?
I think the Bicycle and Pedestrian has 2 and 3 year terms, I think. Which one is he in for? Doesn't say in the agenda.
Okay.
It's August 19th through 2025 to August 19th, 2028.
Or from the term extending from August 19th, 2025 to August 19th, 2028.
Good.
Thanks, Gil.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Very good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Mr. Forbes, for your service. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our August 5th council meeting? And if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or additions to the minutes? Councilmember Kravitz.
I have one small amendment to, I believe it's point 9. It's a little uncertain what's being discussed there, so I wanted to amend it to read as follows. Councilmember Kravitz asked again about a virtual meeting, noting that the motion carried on July 15, 2025 required staff to hold 2 public information sessions, with 1 in person and 1 via Zoom, on water quality reporting and testing, with the first session to occur within the next 4 weeks. City manager Bahia stated that if the council wanted an additional Zoom, the city could do it. That's my amendment. Doesn't
Give
really,
me, I don't know about the rest. I'm trying to find
yeah,
where you're reading.
point 9, yeah.
Page 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me just 1 second. I'm getting there as quick as I can.
It just looks like I'm asking again and again to do a virtual meeting. It doesn't really explain why, and I remember very clearly that I read from the motion text. So just add a little context there.
I'm still not getting it. Let's see. BPAC.
Want this? James?
It's page 7 of the minutes.
Page 7, somewhere in there.
Okay, Councilmember, I'm sorry to ask you to repeat yourself, but now that I'm looking at it, can you direct me what you're, say what you said again, do you mind?
Yeah, no problem at all. So the original version reads, staff will take notes of comments and questions in person and from the streamed version and answer them and provide them on the city's website. Councilmember Kravitz asked again about a virtual meeting. City manager Bahia stated that if the council wanted an additional Zoom, the city could do it. So it just looks like I keep asking about a virtual meeting without really explaining why. So to bring that in line with the recorded video, I just wanted to change that section out, beginning with Councilmember Kravitz asked, to read again about a virtual meeting, noting that the motion that carried on July 15th, 2025 required staff to hold 2 public information sessions, with 1 in person and 1 via Zoom, on water quality reporting and testing, with the first session to occur within the next 4 weeks. So that was the verbatim text of the motion that carried.
Yep.
And that is what I read from on that day. And then city manager Bahia stated that if the council wanted, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really just inserting what I'm asking about instead of just saying that I'm asking about a virtual meeting, because that wasn't really the point. I know we can have a virtual meeting. The point is that there's supposed to be one already coming in. That was the point that I was making on that date. And it's not really reflected in the minutes as it stands.
Okay. Well, the council member is correct. His motion in July was very explicit about 2 town hall meetings, which is precisely why I voted against it. because I didn't see the need for a Zoom meeting, but the council did vote for that with my one dissent. And so, seems like that's a more adequate reflection of what happened.
I agree, which is why I'm moving to adjust it accordingly.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Now we're asking for amendments. So, Mr. Mueller, help me untangle this.
Well, we probably should redo the motion that would be incorporating the change to the minutes as expressed by Councilmember Kravitz.
Okay, so the motion maker could revise the motion to include the recommended changes. Okay, so motion maker wish to do, did you make the
I
motion?
made the motion. Yes, that's fine.
you
Move to
agree?
approve the minutes as amended for the clarification by Councilmember Kravitz.
And I seconded that, so I will again.
Okay, any other discussion of the minutes?
Thanks.
All those in excuse me, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Minutes are adopted. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do have forms in the back of the room for those of you who may be new. Back on the table back there if you wish to address the council at this time. We do ask that there's a 3-minute time limit imposed upon all public comment, each speaker, not all, the whole thing doesn't take 3 minutes. It's each speaker has a 3-minute time limit. We do ask that speakers come to the podium and state your name and city of residence first. I currently have one request to speak from Mr. Loeb. Mr. Loeb, you are recognized, sir.
Charles Loeb, Temple, Terrace Park. I want to talk about two subjects tonight. Number one, I want to talk about update the situation over 52nd and Fowler on the traffic light. It is sort of working right now, but the thing about it is that the walk light is not working. It's still on it. And really it should have been done when the traffic light was activated August 7th. I am kind of wondering if the city could find out, hopefully by the next meeting on September 2nd, that the walk light will be activated to the benefit of the community and the benefit of the synagogue. But I'm hoping if it's not done by the next meeting, that it will be, at least we'll know what's going on with that, because the light is on now. As I mentioned, August 5th, they started the flashing on August 7th. It is running green now, but the walk light still is being covered and all that. And there's no use in putting a walk area over there and not using the walk light. Now, the second thing I want to talk about briefly is my impressions of the town hall meeting. I was very impressed by it. Of course, I was very impressed by the turnout. And for those of you who don't know it and haven't seen the August 20th paper of the Beacon, it did mention 200 people in a very, very good article about it. So if you all haven't seen that. I can't contribute too much to what they have to say. I was very impressed by some of the comments and even some of the solutions that some of the people had that they offered to you all. The only thing I could offer you, like I say, I still believe you could still find new ideas from the National League of Cities meeting. And also, I was a little bit alert, even though it didn't help out, but it's a policy maybe to go look and see if, like when the city of Tampa is opening up the water, like they did briefly over at 50th Street behind and just north of Bush Boulevard near the city line. So if you want to get water from them, it would be an opportunity to keep in touch about what the city of Tampa is doing. But the main focus I want to talk about tonight is the one silver lining in this, at least what I hope will be a silver lining. And this is not up to you all. This is not up to the consultants or anything like that. This is up to individuals. There were 200 people there. People within this community learned to work together. I hope that people will appreciate diversity of their neighbors and make friendships with their neighbors. I really do, and I want to stress this enough. You had plenty of people over there who now have a chance to meet each other and greet each other and appreciate the diversity within this community instead of viewing it as a negative or something like that or something that should be avoided. And it also goes in, we had a nice crowd here tonight at the city council meeting, but it's always nice the more people put into this, to you all, that's another thing, sort of related, the more they're going to get out of it, as the town hall meeting indicated. So again, I hope people will learn from this about diverse opinions, learn to work together, as individuals on their own choice, on their own time, and that they will be involved with you. So the more they put into government, the more they will get out of it. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. I currently have no further requests to address the council, so is there? I'm sorry?
I have a form back here. I don't know. Who do I turn it in?
Okay, come on up, sir, and just give the form to the city clerk on your way up, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Just, yes, Ms. Sater over here will take it. Thank you, sir.
I just had reached out to a couple of city employees.
We need your name first.
Kelly Benjamin.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I'm a resident homeowner here in Temple Terrace, and I talked to some city leaders and employees, and I don't know if this body has addressed this issue before, so I thought I was encouraged to bring it to City Council. And in May of this year, the Journal of the Medical Association published a peer-reviewed neurological study entitled "The Proximity to Golf Courses and the Risk of Parkinson's Disease." And the study, and this is, you can find this online, the study found that the odds of developing Parkinson's disease increase 126% for people living within 1 mile of a golf course compared to living within 6 miles. The heightened risk persisted within the first 3 miles of living close to the golf course, but decreased beyond that. And the correlation is that there's something being sprayed suggests that the pesticide applications that could be the result of that. So I was trying to get some information on what was being sprayed out there and if that sort of risk is an issue here in our community, and if anybody within this elected body could provide any of those chemicals or examples or information regarding that, or if anybody was concerned. Because I'm on a few of the neighborhood group chats with homeowners who live right on the golf course, and they've expressed concerns. So I'll just leave it there. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to ask about that. I wanted to see if there was any comment from this body on that, or if anybody wanted any more information, I can email you the study and all the related press coverage that it's received.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. The council doesn't usually respond during public comment portion, but the city manager is making notes.
Any suggestions for next steps on getting that?
No, not at this point, no. Not during this. This is not a dialogue
Right,
portion
okay.
of the meeting.
Well, it's on record, I guess. There's a couple concerns out there, and maybe we'll come back with a few more people and figure out a route to try and get those answers. Do you know of any route to find out who?
If you've left your contact information on the form, then a member of our staff will follow up with you to let you know what we can. They'll respond to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there other members of the public that okay. Very good. Council, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next item is the first public hearing and first reading of ordinance 1582, amending Chapter 12, Article 11, entitled Historic Preservation. This item was tabled from our July 15th, 2025 meeting. If it is acceptable to council to take this item off the table, we first need a motion to take it off the table. Is there such a motion?
I move to take it off the table and bring it up for discussion for the first reading and public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion. Councilmember Kravitz.
I think that taking it off the table is a little premature because, to the best of my knowledge, 0 homes have still registered in this program, and I'd really just like to see some kind of outreach or some incentive produced to bring at least one person voluntarily into the program before we consider adjusting the code to make it mandatory for people. So I'd like to give the Historic Preservation Committee a little bit more time to go ahead and do that.
Well, the motion made on July 15th was to table it until this meeting.
Yes.
So I don't think it's good to make a motion to table something to a date certain and have people show up to comment on it, and then you don't take it off the table. So that's my opinion. Is there other comment on the motion?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I made the original table motion back in July, and I moved to bring it back.
And we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of taking the item off the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we will open the public hearing, and I will ask our Senior Executive Assistant, Jeannie Barlow, to please come to the podium and present.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, charter officers.
Excuse me, did we open the public comment, or public hearing?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jeannie Barlow. I'm the city manager's assistant, and I'll be presenting an amendment to the city's historic preservation ordinance on first reading. The National Park, first let's review the National Park Service's objection. The National Park Service stated that a provision in the city's ordinance which outlined a local designation process for historic districts that required 100% owner consent was incompatible with the purpose of the local preservation program and did not allow for adequate public participation in the program, as required by the National Historic Preservation Act. As a result of the National Park Service objection, staff is recommending the removal of Section 12-1160A2, which states the following: the consent of all property owners of each property proposed for designation hereunder shall be required prior to any action by the board on a nomination for historical property designation, and the written consent of all property owners within a proposed historical district shall be required prior to any action by the board. But the city can allow for an objection process. The National Park Service permits an objection process for single property owners and more than 50% of property owners in a district prior to designation. With this in mind, staff is recommending adding Section 12-1160A3, which states the following: in the event the owner of a property or the owners of more than 50% of the properties within a district object in writing to the proposed designation, either before or during the public hearing, then the application shall be withdrawn and not considered by the Historic Preservation Board at that time. The city can also allow for a modification of the boundaries of a district. There are provisions in other historic preservation ordinances which allow the governing body to modify the boundaries of a proposed historic district to exclude the properties of those who object to being in the district. Staff is recommending revising the language in Section 12-1160E2 to add the following: a decision to approve the designation of a historic district over an owner objection shall be by a majority vote of council. Modification of the boundaries of a proposed historic district is not a reversal of Historic Preservation Board recommendation so long as the modification is within the area that was properly noticed. The proposed language provides council with two options. The council can decide to approve the designation of a historic district over an owner objection, or the council can decide to modify the boundaries of the proposed district to accommodate the objecting property owner as long as the modification is within the area that was properly noticed. Well, let's investigate adding an appeal process. In researching a possible appeal process for property owners who object to historic district property designation, I reviewed the processes outlined in the historic preservation ordinances of Hillsborough County, the City of Tampa, and the City of Plant City, and found the following. Hillsborough County and the City of Plant City state that a property owner may appeal the designation to the Circuit Court of Hillsborough County. Plant City provides a 30-day time frame to appeal the decision, and the county provides a 3-day time frame to appeal the decision. The City of Tampa states that an objecting property owner may abate the decision only if it's determined that an economic hardship exists. Staff is recommending adding language similar to that of Hillsborough County and Plant City in Section 12-1160E5 to state the following. An objecting property owner may appeal the City Council's decision to the Circuit Court in and for Hillsborough County, Florida. Such appeal shall be by writ of certiorari and shall be filed within 30 days of the public hearing in which the City Council's decision was made. Offering an appeal process for historic district property designations will allow for due process, promote fairness, and offer an objecting property owner the right to challenge a decision regarding a property's historic designation. So what exactly is the process for establishing a historic district? The nomination for a historic district would either have to be initiated by the individual property owner or by the Historic Preservation Board. Creating a historic district in Temple Terrace involves a detailed process to include identifying the areas suitable for designation as a historic district. The designated area will undergo a thorough survey and study to determine the age and significance of the buildings, sites, or structures within the proposed boundaries. This involves gathering information on the neighborhood's history, architectural styles, building types, and the overall character. Surveys could cost anywhere from several $100s to several $1,000s per property, depending on the information needed. After the surveys and studies have been completed, a report would need to be prepared to demonstrate the area's association with important events, activities, or trends in the past, evaluating the integrity of the historic resources and potentially identifying them as worthy of preservation for their exceptional historical significance. Creating a historic district is a massive undertaking and can only be successful when built upon the foundation of strong community involvement. So we've discussed the benefits of becoming a CLG, but if the city decides not to become a CLG, we still have CLG requirements in our ordinance. Several years ago, the City Council held a workshop to discuss the certified local government process. At the conclusion of the workshop, it was the consensus of the council to pursue becoming a certified local government. As a result of the council's direction, staff worked with the State Historic Preservation Office to draft an ordinance pursuant to certified local government requirements. The ordinance, which was subsequently adopted on August 15, 2023, supports the city as a certified local government. If the council determines that it no longer desires to pursue CLG status, there are still provisions in the ordinance which require the city to act as if it is. There are provisions in the ordinance that address the membership and operation of the Historic Preservation Board, provisions that address the inventory process of designated structures, and provisions that address notice requirements and submittal of monthly and annual reports to the Historic Preservation State Office. Provisions in the ordinance will necessitate the city's adhering to CLG requirements without having CLG status or access to CLG funds. So if we do become a CLG, do CLG requirements necessitate expensive repairs to historic properties? Regardless of CLG requirements, since historic homes are older than their more modern counterparts, they may require more extensive and expensive repairs than newer homes, strictly because of their age. With that being said, the city's historic preservation ordinance requires adherence to standards for architectural review, which are consistent with standards for rehabilitation, which have been established by the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation. The standards were developed by the United States Secretary of the Interior and outline 4 treatment approaches: preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, and reconstruction for historic buildings, each one intended to promote preservation practices. Established in 1976, there are 10 standards under each approach. Each standard is purposefully vague and intended as general guidance, not technical assistance. These standards are not intended to be overly restrictive, but rather provide a framework for making informed decisions about the treatment of historic properties. They offer guidance, not rigid rules, ensuring that changes are compatible with the property's historical character while allowing for necessary adaptations for modern use. So what about property values of historic properties? How does historic preservation impact property values? Researchers at the University of Florida and the Center for Urban Policy Research at Rutgers University completed the state's first comprehensive assessment of the economic impact of historic preservation in 2022. As part of the study, researchers worked with Geographic Information System researchers and assessed values for some 28,000 primarily single-family residential properties representing 18 historic districts and 25 comparison neighborhoods in 8 Florida cities. The researchers reported that in at least 15 of 18 cases studied, properties in historic districts appreciated greater than in non-historic comparison neighborhoods. No instance was found where historic designation depressed property values. So lastly, I would like to talk about CLG grant funds. As a certified local government, Temple Terrace would be eligible to compete for pass-through CLG subgrants funded by the National Park Service that are only available to CLGs. In addition, match waivers for small matching grants are available to CLGs, so the match requirement for grant funds of up to $50,000 would not be required for a CLG. The city could use the funds for collecting and archiving historic artifacts, museum development, historical markers, surveys, educational programs, training, and National Register nominations, to name a few eligible projects. So prior to gaining employment with the City of Temple Terrace, I was employed as Lake Helen's city clerk. Lake Helen is a small community in Volusia County with a population of less than 3,000. Although this community was small, it had a fair number of historic structures, which were situated within an area identified as the city's historic district. Also located in the historic district and serving as a central focal point in the community was Hopkins Hall, which dates back to 1897 when it opened with a gala dance on Christmas Eve. Hopkins Hall serves as the community center and hosts many city and community events throughout the year and is also the polling place for the community's elections. Over the years, Hopkins Hall deteriorated and was in need of rehabilitation, but the community lacked the funds needed to restore the community center. I applied for and subsequently received 2 separate grant awards totaling $265,000, which were used to rehabilitate Hopkins Hall in 2007. Grant funding for historic renovations are available for those seeking funding assistance. So certified local governments are municipalities that have demonstrated through a certification process a commitment to local preservation and saving the past for future generations. These are the proposed revisions to the Historic Preservation Ordinance on first reading. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Barlow. Well done. So I currently have one request to speak from the public from Mr. Joe Farrell. Don't go too far, Ms. Barlow, please. Mr. Farrell, how are you?
Good evening. My name is Joe Farrell. I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs for the Suncoast Tampa Association of Realtors. We represent 25,000 real estate professionals in the Tampa Bay area. And quite often we go before local governments when it comes to property rights issues, including ones like historic preservation. And I will agree with a lot of what she just said. One of we are not opposed to historic preservation. We believe that a lot of places it makes a lot of sense. And there are places on Temple Terrace where it makes sense. Our concern, though, is when the bar of attaining a community designation for a certain area isn't high enough to respect the property rights of people that have invested the majority of their personal wealth into that property. You know, when we all sign on to that dotted line and we get that deed, it comes with it rights and responsibilities. And we have to remember that a lot of people bought a property outside of a deed-restricted community for a reason. And she is right on a lot of things. It does raise the cost of owning a home. It raises the cost of the insurance on a home, typically nationally anywhere from 7 to 10%. But we just believe that part of one of the main concerns that we have is that if you're going to have it so it's a possibility where the objection period has to have at least 50%, during the objection period, that 50% of the people have to put in writing that they oppose this, that's a rather low bar. In fact, that might be the lowest bar that any of my people that I work with have been able to find. It is much higher in places like St. Petersburg, Dunedin, even the city of Tampa. For a community designation, the bar is higher to get it done. And quite simply, it's because how many people show up when they're upset? A lot. But when people really want something and they come and group for something, it's harder to get a hold of people. And many times you mail them and find out, how do you feel about this? So we hope that maybe that ratio can be flipped. That if you want it, 50% of the property owners within a designated area would have to have in writing that they'd want it. That's a good place to start. I'd also like to say this is that one other thing is that it does raise the property values of a community. We're not going to fight that or dispute that. But one of the things you have to remember also is when you designate a community as historic, you lose a lot of the development rights. So comparing those 28,000 properties in the state of Florida and that study, that is apples to apples. But if you have the right to develop your property, you can turn your apple into an orange, and that orange may have a lot more value than that apple. Quite simply, if you have a 2,000 square foot home and you add 300 square feet to the back of it, that will raise the property value far more than what the historic designation of that property in a historic neighborhood will raise it. Whereas that study does not take that into account. It's just basically if you have two properties and one doesn't really change the material square footage of it, or let's say you had a pool, things along those lines, it doesn't take that into account. So that's why we say this. We think places should be historically protected. We just think the bar should be raised a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment? I see we have our Historic Preservation Board here. Good.
All of us.
Good evening.
Hi, hello, I'm Margot, Temple Terrace resident. I'm
We need
also
your last name and for the record.
Margot Chavez.
Thank you.
I'm also a volunteer on the Historic Preservation Board. And I just wanted to say a quick word in support of the work that Ms. Barlow has done and many others over years, engaging the public, doing research, and developing things to get Temple Terrace its certified local government status. I think our city has unique character and historic value that's worth preserving, and a CLG will only help the city strengthen its preservation efforts. By facilitating a voluntary preservation program that will benefit residents who choose to participate, but also the city at large by bringing in resources and promoting community pride. And without the support from the city council, these efforts can't move forward. And I think, as we all know, our city just celebrated its 100th birthday, and I can't think of a better way to recognize the city's unique story and history than by supporting the ongoing efforts toward a CLG. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment? Seeing none, council members, any questions? I would like to stress at this point, this is not discussion or comments. This is a question period. So, Councilmember Kravitz.
Yield the floor to Mr.
I called you, Councilmember
I yield the
Kravitz.
floor to Mr. Chambers. He had hand up.
Okay. You're recognized. Are you forfeiting your
I'm
turn?
yielding the floor, since I have it, to Councilmember Chambers. That's how that
I
works.
may not call you again, Councilmember Chambers.
Okay. Ms. Chavez, thank you for your comments. Is this an opinion of just you or the rest of the Historic Preservation Board? Have you heard this item? And does the board as a board agree with it?
This is just my personal opinion. I wasn't sure if I was going to make a statement, but I prepared one just in case. The board wasn't aware of it, and they didn't have any influence on what I said tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember.
May I ask Ms. Chavez a question while she's up
No,
there?
you can't. Now, you gave up your turn. Councilmember Fernandez.
I have a couple questions for Ms. Barlow. Okay. So one is, in a district, if we establish a historic district and there are homes within that geographic area that don't have historical significance, what happens to those?
They would be non-contributing properties.
Okay. And with regard to the percentage of participation, can you tell me where other places are in their requirement of St. Pete was brought up specifically as having a higher bar to meet in order to create a historic district?
In order to be a CLG, the owners of more than 50% of the properties would have to object in writing. That's the minimum allowed. I know, like, the city of Tampa doesn't even address this kind of percentage. When the city attorney and I spoke with Dennis Fernandez, who's the historic preservation manager, he said that pretty much they never see many objections because they have a very well-established education program. And he said once people are aware of what is involved and they are part of the process and they understand the value of it, he said that you don't see many who object. So the city of Tampa doesn't have an issue with objections.
What about, did you look at St. Pete when you were
I did
doing
not.
your research?
I did not.
Okay, I guess, so basically then, in order to qualify as a CLG, the process has to be that someone proposes a CLG, whether it's a homeowner or the Historic Preservation Board.
You mean historic district?
Sorry, Historic District. They propose a geographical area as a historic district. That then, within that geographical area, either 50% of the property owners have to say, we don't want to participate in a historic district, whereby it would not proceed.
Right.
Or specific houses that are in that district could be excluded.
Could be carved out. The council has the option to modify the boundaries, to carve out the properties who don't want to participate.
But in both cases, it's the property owners having to object versus the property owners choosing to join.
True, but it is also an immense community engagement process. You have to, I mean, that depends on the success of the district, is community involvement. You have to have public meetings, you have to do public notice, you have to have media, social media. It's an awareness program so that people know what's going on. So everybody is involved in the process.
Those are my questions.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Ms. Barlow. Good presentation. I don't want to beat this horse too much to death, but I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this, myself included. The current ordinance that we have now has been rejected by, tell me when I'm wrong, been rejected by Washington because, or the feds, whoever, because we're claiming it's totally voluntary, okay? And they're saying that it needs to be more mandatory or more inclusive.
What they're saying is that if you propose a historic district and you don't have 100% owner consent, they don't like that one property can ruin it for the whole district.
Okay. But the option to carve out a house on a block or whatever exists, and so you have an appeal process that would, come back to the council. And if the council still said, yes, it has to happen, then that homeowner has the option to go into county court for writ of certiorari to become excluded.
Correct.
Is that true? Yes. Okay. By us adopting the new language, we cure that issue with the Park Service. Is that correct?
That's correct. They agreed both to the modification of the boundaries and the appeal process.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
Ms. Barlow, I have a question. Can you walk us through, because it's been going on for quite a while now, actually a couple of years since we first passed this. So originally, we didn't want any district provision in our historic ordinance because we don't have a historic district. Our stuff is scattered around.
Mediterranean revivals, they
So-
will not accommodate.
Okay, so can you please remind us and walk us through why we're discussing districts at all?
As part of the CLG process, in the ordinance, it has to mention districts, the potential for districts.
Okay, so we were compelled to have districts even though it doesn't fit our city.
Correct.
We don't have anything that would even meet a district currently.
Right.
Okay, and then we passed our ordinance, submitted it to the state, and it was approved, but when it got to the National Park Service,
Correct. The
they
state
objected
has-
to the
yes.
district portion, which we didn't want in there to begin with.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
Discussion is not closed. Point of order. I asked to be recognized
You
earlier.
yielded.
I'm sorry. That's not how Robert's Rules of Order works. Everyone gets to speak until everyone has said everything they want to say, and then the discussion can be
But you
closed.
yielded. I called on you.
I'm asking for the floor again before this public comment, before the
Okay, so Robert's Rules also says that the chair recognizes those people that want to ask questions. You don't get to pick the order that you get called on.
There is no order of being called
There's,
on.
the chair has a responsibility of recognizing who wants to ask. So if you want to sit here and parse Robert's Rules of Orders, we can do that until midnight, okay? But when I call on you, you don't get to decide who gets to talk. That is the chair's responsibility. And whether you like it or not, these people voted me to be the mayor.
Mayor Ross, this is not grade school where people go in order. This is city council.
You will be recognized, I promise. I always recognize you, and you will continue to be
You
recognized.
closed just now, but not everyone who wished to speak had an opportunity.
Everybody who wished to speak was recognized, and you forfeited. You
You
yielded.
do not forfeit your right to speak. It is inherent in the office.
You yielded, and if you do that again, I will pass you by again. Now,
Have
I will
not done
reopen.
that? Excuse me, I have done this before, and you have the right to speak more than once in a council session.
Yes, you do.
And
but you
you have
yielded.
the right, just because I yield doesn't mean that I cannot once again ask for the floor when the person who has had the floor previously has finished speaking, which is the case here.
I will reopen the public hearing for the purpose of recognizing Councilmember Kravitz.
You're very kind.
Yes, I am. Now, ask your question.
Thank you for following the rules. All right. Very sorry about that. So the question that I have is this. Sutton Hall is the elephant in the room. I'm reading through this ordinance and I'm thinking, if we're going to force anyone to be historically protected, it would make sense that we would perhaps have targeted something like Sutton Hall. But if I go through this, I'm seeing that the decision to approve an historic district can be made over the owner objection, but not an individual building.
Correct, so,
So my question is there a facility in this to force an individual building?
no, there is not. It has to be the consent of the property owner for an individual property.
And then my other question is, you were discussing grant issuance. Now, if we cannot create a district because of the unique historic layout of our city, the grants cannot be issued except to a district. Is that correct?
No, the
Okay.
grants?
Yes?
No. Grants can be issued to the city. The city can apply for the grants.
Okay.
Cities and nonprofits.
So my interpretation was incorrect just now when I saw through the slides. When a building is an individual historic landmark, it can apply for a grant, even if it is not within a district, but we need to have these districts in order to apply for these grants?
No, you need to be, you need to have a local designation. You don't need to be a district.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
And now I yield the floor. Thank you.
Close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 12, Article 11 of the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances entitled Historic Preservation, removing Section 12-1160A2 and adding Section 12-1160A3 regarding consent of property owners for a proposed historic designation or district, revising Section 12-1160E2 regarding modification of the boundaries of a proposed historic district, and adding Section 12-1160E5 regarding an appeal process, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing authority to codify, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion?
Move to approve on first reading, ordinance 1582, amending Chapter 12, Article 9, entitled Historic Preservation.
I think it's Article 11.
Whoops, I'm sorry, 11. Looks like my ink's.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Councilmember Fernandez.
So to answer the question that when we're talking about districts, yes, none of our Mediterranean revival houses would be in a position for us to create a district. However, where the concern is that as time goes on, then other neighborhoods do become historic, and mid-century modern homes do have a layout that is conducive to creating districts in some areas of the city. So the districts, even though they won't apply to the 1925's time period, can apply to the 1950s homes as they approach. And so that's why I personally have the concern that in not being 100% voluntary. But, and then to answer the question about the grants, so for people listening that it might have sounded a little confusing, the city would need to be a certified local government in order to apply for and receive the grants. But that could then be used in various historical applications throughout the city, whether a property was in a district or a standalone property. And because the National Park Service did not agree with our ordinance, they are the ones that approve a city to become a certified local government. So that's why we are discussing the district now. So I would like to know what maybe some of the other cities are doing that are locally that have been referenced that maybe don't have as low a threshold to create a historic preservation district. But overall, I'm in favor of historic preservation. I think it's important for an area, but I also want to balance that with the property rights of the owner. Those are my comments.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yeah, I wasn't at the first meeting, so all I could get was from the video, and the minutes, so I wasn't part of the discussion. But part of the first meeting and the tabling seemed to be that there were some questions that I think Ms. Barlow answered in some of the changes that I've seen in the ordinance from it was first presented a couple meetings ago. So I'm comfortable moving forward. And this is the first reading, so maybe some of your questions about what other cities are doing or their thresholds could be answered before the next one. But I'm comfortable with this.
Vice Mayor?
I made the motion. I'm totally comfortable with it. I just would have, we had a lot of gnashing of teeth over Sutton Hall, and we have an opportunity to potentially build a program that would prevent something like that in the future of the demolition. I find it hypocritical for us to say, well, no, we don't want to do this if whatever, we appear schizophrenic on the issue. So I'm totally in favor of it, and I think we need to move forward with it. There's enough of a hill to climb in order to make it a designated district. There's a lot that has to happen, a lot of education, as well as the not barriers, but the side rails that allow for mitigation of the individuals. There's an appeal process, and there is a way for people who really don't want to participate to actually not to participate in the end. And I think that that's sufficient enough for what we need to do, and I'm totally in favor of it.
Councilmember Kravitz?
I'm just going to speak this for the record. So my issues with it are as follows. The Historic Preservation Board was created based on council direction several years ago. That is correct. Ordinance 1550 was created based on council direction. That is also correct. This ordinance that's on the table right now is initiated by staff and not by city council. It's sort of a reversal of democracy in that we are supposed to be legislating. This was initiated without council direction. So what we're discussing here today and all of the energy that's being expended on this doesn't have anything to do with what anyone up here voted to do, unfortunately, and I think that's really depressing. I also want to point out that in the ordinance it says that the principal structure is at least 50 years old. That puts us at 1975. So a building from 1974 could be a historic structure under the phrasing of this ordinance, which encompasses all mid-century architecture in Temple Terrace. So literally any house that I would consider mid-century, which is up to 1969, would fall under this ordinance potentially. The way that this ordinance is written is also a problem in my view. People are not being left alone. They're being created into an historic district against their will or without their expression of will. They're not being asked yes or no. They're just being made into an historic district. And then they have to go door to door and collect signatures, or they have to file written objections with the city. People have busy lives. They don't have the time to deal with something like this. And they certainly do not have time to go to court and fight a designation if that's not something that they want. I speak to people all the time who don't want to be in an HOA. And this creates rules that will be very similar to an HOA. I am going to be working on an historic project for a listed building next week. It's not my first one. I like preserving those kinds of buildings. They're great, but they're hard. And it's not something that you can just do without a lot of experience. Many times the rules that are applied to these listed buildings say that you have to use very specific materials, that you have to use workmanship that's in a very specific manner. For example, rock lathe is a style of drywall that might be required in a historic building. You might need expert plasterers in order to restore certain features. You might not be able to use certain building materials. For example, if a building originally had a wooden window, you wouldn't be allowed to use one using a PVC or vinyl frame. You'd need to have one carpentered as a wooden framed window. These are all things that can be required. So the idea that there's a pot of gold waiting if we adopt this is, in my opinion, erroneous. The costs of these buildings are high. They are not easy to do. And that is why I think that putting people through this trouble is not a good idea when, after, I believe, 2 years now almost, the Historic Preservation Board has failed to get a single person to voluntarily protect their home. And on top of that, the one building that everyone in Temple Terrace did care about, Sutton Hall, was torn down and would not be encompassed by this ordinance at all because it cannot be applied against an individual building, against the building owner's will. It can only be done against an entire district. But Sutton Hall is a standalone individual structure. It is not a district, and so we wouldn't even be able to protect that using this ordinance. So, in my opinion, for all of those reasons, I'm going to be a no vote on this, even though I love historic buildings. And even though I'd really love to see the Historic Protection Board spend some of the energy that's putting behind this to go door to door and find someone with a house prior to 1975 to voluntarily sign up for their program. They've had over a year and a half. Find one person in Temple Terrace. One. And I will be a yes vote on this. I've said that previously. Still not a single person has voluntarily protected their house as an historic listed building in this city, which I find to be unfortunate, but also kind of understandable, given all the things that I just said. So I yield the floor.
You will. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'd like to thank the members of our Historic Preservation Board who are present here. I think they're all present here. I think the whole board is here. And so thank you for your service on this. And I don't believe that outreach is part of the scope of work for the board. But I've been to your meetings. Thank you for what you do. I share some of your concerns, but I'd like to talk about that a little bit. So first of all, this didn't originate by staff. When we first talked about this in 2021, I think we passed it in 2022, 23 was it? Or somewhere in there. It took a while to get it done. We first started talking about it probably almost a year before we passed it. But the end game of getting certified local government was part of the talk from the very first beginning. That's not new. And when we ran in the process of obtaining our CLG is where we've run into these things. It's taken a couple of years for some of these things to perk up from National Park Service. We had to change some things previously because the state had some issues, so we had to revise. So this isn't something that we passed an ordinance and then somebody in staff just thought, well, we'll go for COG and they'll start that. No, that was from the very beginning. So I hear what you're saying about because the whole council, which is changing composition a little bit, but the entire council has always been committed to our public that we're not going to put this on you against your will. We've all been committed to this being voluntary. This has taken a bit of a shift because of this district provision that we didn't even really want the district provision to begin with. And now when we put that in on a voluntary basis, then the National Park Service says, no, you can't do that. So this language that we're being required to put is a little unnerving to me too, when you start talking about compelling people to become a district, and when some of the people don't want to. And I hear what everybody's saying. I would not be in favor of that either. But I have to say, when I read the criteria for designation, I think the risk of a district being compelled to become a district in our city is extremely unlikely. I mean, this is like getting struck by lightning 4 times in one day or something. I mean, it's like so the criteria are properties or districts which are significant to the city, history, architecture, archaeology, culture, possess an integrity of location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, association. All right, so mid-century modern architecture, the Florida houses that I grew up in, they're ubiquitous. I mean, that was just every house in Florida in the 1940s and 50s. They're not really anything. Properties or districts which are associated with distinctive elements of social, political, or economic, scientific, religious, prehistoric, or architectural history. That doesn't fit mid-century modern neighborhoods. Properties or districts which are associated with the lives of persons significant in the city, station, state, or nation's past. That's really an individual property, really not a district, certainly not in Temple Terrace. Properties or districts which embody the distinctive characteristic of a type, period, style, or method of construction or work of a master, or that possess high artistic value or that represent a distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. I just don't see this fitting like entire neighborhood of mid-century modern. Properties or districts which have yielded or are likely to yield information about the prehistory or history of the city, or properties or districts which are listed on the National Registry. And so I just don't think, I can't imagine a future city council up here, first of all, defining an entire neighborhood of mid-century modern with these criteria and then voting against residents who don't want to be part of it. I mean, we all know what life is like on the council. I mean, it's hard to vote against something that people don't want. I mean, you got to go to Publix. Sooner or later, you're going to get hungry, right? And so I just really, if I thought that this was going to result in people being forced into a program, I would vote against this also. I don't see that happening. The other thing about, to me, if we don't go for CLG, we've really kind of wasted our time in getting as far as we have, because that's the real nugget of having the historic preservation to begin with, is to have the CLG designation. We are doing more. I know your passion for Temple Terrace history, and I applaud that, by the way, but we're doing more. We have it in our budget. Our FY26 budget includes money for climate-controlled storage, because we are getting people to give us their artifacts that have been in their homes for years. And so we have accumulated already, thanks to some big help from some people in the audience here. And we hope to expand that program. Now, I certainly can't guarantee that we are going to be successful in getting a CLG grant to help us pay for that storage. But I absolutely know with 100% certainty that if we don't have CLG, we're not going to get any money. And the same is true when we talk about a museum. You know, in a few years, we're going to be vacating, the police department's going to be vacating the 3rd floor of this building. Now, I don't know what it's going to become. I'm not promising it's going to be a museum. I don't know. But we'll have some space and potentially could do some exhibiting, exhibit some of these artifacts that we get. There may be some funding. I would think that would be very likely that there would be some funding available for that. No, there's no promise. So anyhow, I share your concerns, but I think I just, for those watching and those listening, if I really thought that you were in jeopardy of getting forced into a district, there's no way I would vote for this. I don't think that is ever going to happen to anybody in this city. We just don't have that kind of place. So anyway, I'll be voting in favor. We do have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Councilmember Kravitz.
I just want to address 2 points that were made. First of all, I stand by what I said before. This is not from city council. I asked the city manager who initiated this agenda item, and at first he told me Jeannie Barlow, and then after that he said it was himself. And I also want to mention one other thing. This is something that I elaborated on last time as well. I'm just going to go through it very briefly one more time about how historic districts are created. You look at an ensemble of buildings. That means it's a variety of different buildings. They don't all have to be pristine examples associated with a famous person. It's just that they collectively are an architectural landmark, right? So they can be better or worse buildings all thrown together. We don't have to look very far to see where this would start. Look at point F. Properties or districts which are listed in the National Register of Historic Places are a criteria for designation. Temple Terrace Golf Course is in the National Register of Historic Places. All you would need to do to create an ensemble out of everything around the golf course is to say all of the houses that are around the golf course, which is itself a national monument, historic monument, you would encompass 1 or 2 city blocks from the golf course, and then suddenly thousands of houses in Temple Terrace are all in one single historic district. That's all it takes. So I think we're all going to cast a vote up here, and I think we don't really know exactly how these processes go. And I think that we owe it to the people in Temple Terrace to, first of all, only change the law when it comes from one of us, or has been directed to do so by one of us. And I think also, secondly, that we should really discuss how these historic districts are created, what they mean, because there's been a ton of discussion about it, and I, for one, would love to see a presentation on it by the city attorney. So I'd be happy to make a motion to that effect, or second one, if someone else would like to make a motion to that effect, about, for example, how an historic district may or may not come about based on the fact that we actually have a, 750-acre historic monument in our city, which takes up, I guess, probably, 20-something percent, 30% of the entire mass of the city, the land area. So to say that we're completely invulnerable to this happening, as has been suggested a moment ago, is incredibly beside the point and ignores a gigantic historic monument that is central to our entire town. And I yield.
Councilmember Fernandez.
I do want to clarify, when the city council discussed a historic preservation ordinance, we did specifically discuss becoming a certified local government. So the text may be coming from city staff researching it, but we did give direction to look at becoming a certified local government. So I just want to clarify that. But I too, and I understand what the mayor is saying about not necessarily seeing how districts could be pulled up, but I go to a lot of historic cities as Savannah, Charleston, St. Augustine, and I've seen, so I do happen to agree that I think we could end up with whole streets of properties being certified. And now I want historic preservation, but at the same time, it concerns me that nobody to date in the city has brought their property into a historically designated state, which tells me that maybe our residents don't want historic preservation as much as I would like to see historic preservation. And that would be my concern moving forward with the ordinance, where it's less voluntary than what we prefer. So anyway, those are just the comments I wanted to make.
Okay, so there's a motion for approval in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
2 nays? 2,
Nay is
Councilmember
my
Kravitz, Councilmember Kravitz and Councilmember Fernandez. Okay, next item is a resolution approving Phase 1 design services for the Temple Terrace Public Safety Complex to PBK. Our Deputy Chief of Police, Chris Mills, is here to explain. Afternoon, evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor.
It's sometime during the day.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Deputy Chief Chris Mills, Police Department. The City of Temple Terrace intends to construct a new public safety complex located at 7911 Harney Road and has selected PBK to lead Phase 1 of the project following a competitive procurement process. A formal RFQ was issued publicly and several firms submitted proposals. PBK was chosen based on the strong qualifications, prior experience, and demonstrated understanding of the police department's facility needs. This selection ensures compliance with city procurement requirements and secures the most qualified partner for this important phase. To initiate the effort, PBK has submitted a proposal to provide architectural and engineering services that include developing 3 conceptual site plans, block diagrams, draft renderings, and cost estimates for City Council review. One of the conceptual site plans will include space for the police department with the option to add a fire department in the future, while the remaining 2 plans will feature a fully integrated facility housing both the police department headquarters and Fire Station 3. Additional services under this phase include site analysis, updated needs assessments, participation in public meetings, rezoning application support, and photorealistic renderings with a fly-around video of the selected design. The conceptual design phase will support the city's public engagement efforts and serve as a key component of future bond referendum. The total cost for Phase 1 is $199,235. This includes $160,435 for conceptual design, $26,800 for rezoning efforts, $6,000 for exterior renderings, and $6,000 for the fly-around video. Funding will come from account 001-1411-521.62-41 and is already included in the current year's approved budget. It is recommended the City Council approve a resolution approving Phase 1 architectural and engineering design services for the Temple Terrace Public Safety Complex to PBK in the amount of $199,235. With that, I stand for questions. I also have representatives from PBK here, Amy Weber-Brallow and Ward Frislowski, that can answer any questions that you may have about the scope of work or the contract involved.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, other questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
So this, what we're looking at is PBK would be actually creating the design. So when they are going through this project, have we asked them to create a design that's feasible as well as a design that would encompass the fire station and police on the same property, adjoined? Like what have we asked them to do in regard to this?
So every design they're going to do for us will have a fire department, whether it's added together at the beginning or at a later date. It will be added at some point. We have several, like I said, we have 3 different plans. One, Rough Badges has the police department only, with plans to add a future fire department later, and then we have 2 that are going to be the police department and the fire department for the conceptual designs for PBK.
Okay, so for the plan that would be the police department only, that plan, are they also going to cite a fire department on the property, as in knowing where egress, ingress, and where it would actually be cited for a later build date? Or will it be, okay, this is where we're putting the police department and we'll figure that out later?
When I come over here, you probably speak on this a little bit.
Good evening.
Yes, very good question. So,
We just need your name on the record.
Ward Frislowski, PBK Architecture, and Amy Bradlow. The answer is yes. We're going to look at it holistically, but then give you the option to either design and build a police station alone, or with the fire department immediately or in the future. So we're going to look at it not only with the building, but parking, stormwater retention, ingress and egress, all of those things. So we're going to kind of master plan the whole thing, and then give you the option as to whether you either want to or can afford to do just the police station or the police and fire, independently or together.
Okay, and then at the same time, will you be, as part of this, showing us the project drainage, stormwater retention, et cetera, that needs to be done for the entire project, not just if we
Yes.
build one piece at a time?
Yes, so we have a civil engineering component to this, so we'll be looking at that right from the very beginning, all of those things. Grading, drainage, ingress, egress, stormwater retention, as well as functionality, aesthetics, really everything.
Thank you.
Councilmember? Vice Mayor?
Yes, what's the time frame? Anticipated time frame for completion?
We have not set the schedule. We want to move it as quickly as possible. Some of that's going to be depending on availability of the police department, fire department, staff to work with us. We know ultimately the goal is to have a public referendum in November of 2026. So what we've talked about internally is we know there are things that relate to that. For example, you have to get to supervisor elections and have that ballot language way ahead of time. So we're going to kind of work that schedule backwards and then give ample time. Obviously, we're going to come back to show you things, go to the public, kind of have that educational campaign to all be set for that November 2026 referendum. So we're anxious to move it along quickly, but we also realize that we want to be cognizant about the time that the police, fire, staff, and all of you need to make sure that we're not rushing decisions for you.
Thank you.
No questions. A question for Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief, I know 5 acres sounds like a lot of property, but by the time you put a fire station on one end, a police department, and then the retention and the parking and all that, I mean, you eat up 5 acres pretty quick. I don't want to think we need to expand the cost of the design with this, because we don't have the money for all this up front anyway. But are you keeping in mind if there's any space left on the property, the orientation of the buildings? In other words, if you have a little spot in here and a little spot here and a little spot here, it'd be better to have a bigger spot where maybe you could put a fire tower, or maybe you could put canine training facility, or, you don't need a huge spot of land to do something of that nature. So are you keeping that in mind when they orient the buildings to say, well, can you put it a little bit over here so we could make better use of that land that we don't need?
Yeah, we are. We've had conversations about that, and they're ongoing. I mean, everything that you just touched on there, we've had conversations about it. We've been talking about it.
Okay.
I do, if nobody has any other questions, I would like to say one thing. When I started here almost 16 years ago, everybody talked about a police department to be built, and it's taken quite some time, but I know us as a police department in whole are very grateful to everybody in the city, the council, city manager, everybody that's involved with everything. It's very exciting time for us, and we greatly appreciate it. And I just want to close it with that.
Designing it for $200,000 and building it for $30 million, two different things.
Correct, but this is the start, and this is something it's taken a while for at least us to get to this point. And
We're closer than we've ever been, so. Very good. Okay. Council members, if there's no further discussion, is there a motion?
Move to approve a resolution approving Phase 1 architectural and engineering design services for the Temple Terrace Public Safety Complex to PBK in the amount of $195,235.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item is a resolution approving the final site plan SPR 25-04 for Barriga Pediatrics located at 234 Bullard Parkway. Our senior planner, Alyssa Livingstone, is here back with us again to present.
Okay. Alyssa Livingstone.
Do we need to do ex parte again?
Yeah, we should, because we did it at CRA. We should.
That's a great idea. So I'll
If anybody has had any ex parte communications about this matter.
Microphone.
If any members of the council have had any ex parte communications regarding this matter, or even the next matter coming up, if they've been verbal communications, just please indicate who you had those communications with, when and where they occurred. If they are written communications, then we would just need to get that to the city clerk for going into the record.
Only email regarding the future ribbon cutting.
I've had none.
I had one verbal conversation with, I believe it was a Julie Grande, last Thursday, I believe, and it was just as a petitioner expounding on the hope for approval.
Now, did discuss any of the substantive issues?
Nothing discussed.
Councilman?
I've had none.
Good, thank you. Ms. Livingstone?
So this presentation is for the consideration of approval for site plan SPR 2504 for Barriga Pediatrics. The property is 1.45 acres in size. The proposed use is for a medical office of 7,721 square feet, which is consistent with the current zoning and uses of the adjacent parcels. This is in the redevelopment area. There are medical offices to the west. To the north, there are single-family residences. To the east, there are office buildings. And to the south, there is municipal property and multifamily residential. Okay, so this is the overall site plan for the project. The white unshaded area to the center bottom of the image near the pond, it represents the historic portion of the structure that will be preserved. The gray shaded area represents the non-historic addition to the rear that will be removed to make way for the new pediatric center expansion. There are 41 proposed parking spaces to the north and the east of the lot, 2 of which will be ADA compliant. There are proposed 5 bicycle racks, and there will be 2 retention ponds on the site, 1 to the west and 1 to the south. There will be 2 full access points to this site. The main entrance will be to the east along Ridgedale Road and to the north on Floto Avenue. There will be an outdoor play area for the children to the north of the proposed expansion. Note that the building is set back from the Bullard Parkway thoroughfare, so waivers related to the redevelopment area requirements were requested. The landscape plan included in the submittal package follows the city's LDC's requirements. If you look to the southwest of the site, you'll see that there's a tree cluster that will remain. There were 4 requested CRA waivers. The way the existing structure is positioned, which is the white unshaded area on the site, it is set back from Bullard Parkway, so it would not be feasible to abide by the CRA requirements listed above. The first one, the proposed building addition is located on the site in such a way that it preserves the layout of the existing historic building at the southeast corner of the site. Because the proposed building addition is set back from the main thoroughfare of Bullard Parkway, the pedestrian streetscape requirement would provide a minimal benefit or impact. The third, the proposed building addition is designed in a manner that it preserves the historic building at the southeast corner of the site. And if you look to the screen, you'll see that it's proposed that they will keep the building with a blank wall. So this will keep the street frontage, keeping the street frontage building walls blank would ensure that the historic character of the building is altered minimally. Here are the general requested waivers. There will be a stormwater pond to the south of the site. The site plan proposes access from Ridgedale Road and Floto Avenue. The existing driveway access from Bullard Parkway will be eliminated as it is too close to the intersection with Ridgedale Road. This is sheet C1 of the plan set. To the northwest of the parcel, this area highlights easements to be granted to the city for future utility improvements. On the east side of the property, the proposed sidewalk will meander between public right-of-way and private property. The applicant will grant an easement for the portion that falls on private property. Here's the north elevations. Here are the south elevations. Here is the east elevation. If you look to the left of the screen, you will see the historic portion of the building that will be preserved. Here are the west elevations. These are the exterior renderings. The applicant has made an effort to keep the historic character of the existing structure as seen here. The proposed signage is designed to align with existing Mediterranean revival architectural structure prevalent in the city of Temple Terrace. This is consistent with the city's aesthetic. There will be painted stucco finish as well on the monument signs. The outdoor play area will feature a curved tree bench, a balance beam, 2 picnic tables, a mulched pathway, and a playhouse. This will be to the north of the proposed building expansion. There will be a metal fence installed around the playground. There are 7 conditions with this approval. These include standard conditions regarding date stamp on plans, land development code language, and easements to be granted to the city. The easement to be granted to the west property line is for future utility improvements. The easement to be granted to the east is for sidewalks that are proposed. The applicant will be responsible for all costs associated with these easements. We'd like to note that the business owners and the project engineers are present in the audience this evening, and they are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? None. Council member questions. Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes, I have 2 questions. One is regarding the stormwater retention ponds. Are those, the ponds that are proposed on there, are those, that's part of the stormwater retention?
The one to the south will be a dry pond, and the one to the west will be a wet pond.
Where will the ponds drain when we do have a heavy rain event?
Okay, so I don't have thank you for that question. I can get with city staff and engineers to provide you with the answer for that after the meeting.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because when we had our last hurricane and we had, I know that some ponds and some of the drainage in that area is actually maintained by Hillsborough County. And I just want to make sure that any capacity that we're looking at that will integrate with their, with what they have. And then the only other question I have for you is parking.
It looks like one of our project might have the answer to your questions.
Okay.
Not to interrupt you, but
No.
he's telling me I might have the answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Matt Dakotas. I'm the partner at Cicada, the architectural firm designing this for the Variagas. So our civil engineer worked closely with the city's engineering department to identify the proper amount of drainage per all of your codes and where it all ties into your stormwater system. Those plans have been submitted and approved by your city's engineering department. So all of that is in our civil plans, and I'm sure we'd be happy to share them. But yeah, that's all in there and has been reviewed by Kim Ford.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So then my only other question is just parking, and just to ensure that we looked at the parking requirements and that this does meet what the needs would be for this building?
So per what was required, 26 parking spaces were actually required, and the applicant has provided 41 proposed parking spaces. So they exceeded what was required.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember?
Yes, back to the retention ponds real quick. On the slide, where is the wet pond?
It would be to the west of the, let me get to it. To the west.
Okay, and on my backup doesn't have it. A question, well, that's the dry pond, that's the wet pond. Is the wet pond required to have a fencing, since it's gonna have water in it all the time and we have children all around it?
Thank you for that question.
Well, I mean, our building staff or our people should know if a wet pond's required to have fencing. Somebody stand up, yeah. Thanks.
That requirement is going to be based on the slope and grade of the shoulders, and I don't believe that's going to be the scenario in this case.
Okay.
It'll be a standalone as you see it on the site plan.
And one of the developers, people shaking his head, but you got to come up and put it on the record, please. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So the wet pond was a late addition after our civil engineer was working with Kim to work out all of the stormwater retention. And so he and Kim worked closely to make sure the design met your standards. But I don't have a straight answer for you exactly on the fencing, but I know his slopes were shallow enough where there's not a steep slope into that pond.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I have three questions. One, how is the old building going to be incorporated into the overall facility?
You gotta read the backup. You gotta read the backup. It's all in there.
I can answer this question. My name is Diani Robarge. I'm an architect, also with Cicada, facilitated the design. And the best way I can put this is the existing historic structure is sited in a way where it faces Bullard. And we wanted to create an addition that has a small connection point and kind of grows beyond that in the back. And by positioning this addition in the rear of the site, we kind of we wanted the historic building to be more significant so that you would see that first on the site and it wouldn't be surrounded too much visually by the new building. Does that answer your question?
What about traffic issues? Oh.
Yes.
Alicia?
So we're actually anticipating helping resolve some of the existing traffic issues by removing the current exit onto Bullard Parkway right now. So we've moved the entrances into the clinic off of the main thoroughfare and eliminated that Bullard Parkway access that's on the corner there.
Okay, but particularly on Ridgedale, I know that in the afternoons, when school lets out, that area gets quite congested.
Yeah.
How is that going to be mitigated if there's any issues?
Our civil engineer provided traffic counts to the planning department as part of our overall proposal that have been reviewed by your engineering department.
And everybody's happy with that?
There's an access point to the north on
Yeah,
Off of Flotto?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that going to be the main issue
Yeah, I'm sorry?
The main is on Ridgedale.
Yes, yeah, the main will be off Ridgedale.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. The last question is, how many trees are going to be affected on the property on the west side?
There will be $1,000 that's going to be affected due to the fact that we're trying to preserve the finished floor of the existing historic structures. So we need to grade down significantly on the parking lot side. So unfortunately, we worked with the arborist to try and save the $1,000 that's on the north side, but weren't able to do it just because of the slopes weren't working out. So we're eliminating that, but then also replacing that $1,000 with a significant amount of other landscaping to make up for it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember?
Whose idea was the playground?
That was Dr. Borrega and Juliana's. Yes.
It's fantastic, and I love this whole concept. It's amazing, and thank you for doing this in Temple Terrace, and the people who are making proposals for downtown should learn from you.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Okay. So is there a motion?
Move to approve the final site plan SPR 25-04 for Barriga Pediatrics located at 234 Bullard Parkway.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion?
Do we need to say with conditions and waivers as presented? Probably.
With the conditions and waivers as presented by staff.
Quick question, did we do any type of public comment on this? I forgot.
We did.
We did, all right.
Yep, we did. So the amended motion is for approval, including the included waivers. And
Yes, and conditions as identified by staff.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Discussion?
I just have one comment. I really appreciate the effort that you've put into preserving the existing historical structure. And I also like the playground idea. My children are much older now, but I would have appreciated it a long time ago. But I appreciate the investment that you are making in our community.
I have a comment too. I've got to echo that too, except for the part about I don't have any children, so they wouldn't have enjoyed the playground. But I appreciate the effort, and let's get this thing built.
Okay. I'd just like to say, echo my colleagues up here. I was looking the past couple of days at this backup material and looking at the specifics, and I just love what you're doing here. This is terrific. To the architects that put this together, what you're doing with the site plan and promoting and preserving that house, it's really, really terrific. And so I do hope, Mr. Pauly, that somebody has at least talked to them, I'm sure you have, about our historical preservation program for the new house. So, and there may be some tax incentives for doing that too. So, thank you, Miss Livingstone, and thank you very much. And so,
Thank you.
Good job.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Site plan is approved. Next issue is a resolution approving a contract with Biotech Consulting LLC for urban forest services and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract. Our community development director, Greg Pauly, and our city arborist, Joe Ferris, are both here to explain. Good evening.
Well, good evening, and thank you again, Mayor and City Council, for the opportunity to speak on this item. This item is listed as 8D on tonight's agenda, and it is the resolution that you just spoke of. I'd like to provide a bit of background information. Earlier this year, on April 21st, RFP 2505 was published seeking responses from qualified firms to provide urban forest services throughout the community. The services were broken into three primary project goals. The first is a tree inventory and condition assessment for all trees on city property having a DBH, or diameter at breast height, of 12 inches or greater. The second project goal is a citywide urban canopy assessment. And finally, the third project goal included in the RFP is a comprehensive urban forest management plan. 4 firms responded to the RFP and were evaluated by the evaluation committee. The evaluation committee was chaired by Mr. Joe Ferris, our city arborist, and included staff from our Public Works Department as well as our Parks and Recreation Department. At this time, I'd like to pass the microphone to Mr. Ferris. He'll be able to provide additional background on the committee's actions and how the selection went.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Ferris.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff.
The committee review of the submittals consists of a multi-step process. During the evaluation period, the committee completed the detailed reviews of each submittal and agreed that 2 of the consulting firms should be added to our shortlist. After having the opportunity to meet with both firms, the committee voted unanimously to award the project to Biotech Consulting. The committee based our decision on the following. 1, the timeline in which Biotech was proposed to complete the project, which is in a 3-month period, beginning first part of September through the middle of November. 2 was Biotech's commitment to details and attention during the project to ensure the city will be their main focus in providing all that we've asked for in each of the set goals. 3, Biotech has proposed to have 1 set of their team in the field to complete Goal 1, at the same time running a parallel team to complete Goal 2. They also are committed to open communication through the project by providing weekly updates with time for the city to review and respond with comments. Overall, the committee felt that Biotech Consulting would provide the city with the highest level of customer service, focusing on the city's need to complete this project.
And I would like to note that the entire contract, all 103 pages, is in your backup material, and it's also available for public review. I would ask that, if found acceptable, staff recommends that this council approve an award of a contract to Biotech Consulting LLC for urban forest services in the amount of $53,500 to be funded by the city's Tree and Landscape Beautification Fund. I would like to add that our project manager from Biotech could not be with us this evening due to a conflict in his schedule. However, we do have the assigned environmental scientist that's on this project. He's in the room with us. It's Mr. Evan Quigley over here in the green polo, in the green shirt, and he will be available to respond to any questions that you may have regarding his firm or the services that they intend to provide. And with that, I will stand for any questions you may have for us.
Thank you, Mr. Pauly. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, are there questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
So for city staff, is this an item that we have had, that we budgeted for our 2026, or fiscal year 2026 budget? I know we didn't have the exact amount, but did we anticipate something?
We actually have this in the FY25 budget. We put in a placeholder of $25,000. Obviously came in at $53,500. It is being paid from the tree fund, which I think is a very appropriate use of those dollars since we're looking to strengthen the canopy with the study.
So can you, for the people that might be watching, can you describe what deliverable this analysis or this study will show?
I'll be happy to give you the high-level version of that. I think Mr. Ferris could probably drill down even smaller depending on the detail, and then I'm sure Mr. Quigley could even provide details that I'm not even aware of at this point. I can tell you that historically, up until this point in time, city staff has never had information available to actively, and I'm going to use the word proactively, manage our urban forest canopy. We simply haven't had it. Our efforts have been of a responsive nature. This information will catalog and inventory everything that is located on public lands within the criteria of the project that are considered sustainable trees. They've reached a maturity of 12 inches or greater at DBH, which measures 54 inches above the grade. So these are what we would consider trees that we truly want to take care of, that we want to protect, and that we want to provide opportunities to expand our canopy. So this is going to give staff an opportunity to be proactive and not reactive. And then the last part of this is going to provide staff today and staff years down the road an effective management plan to not only preserve the current urban canopy, but there is a metric within the information that's referred to as the PPA, which is the potential planting areas. It's going to help our staff identify where we should be planting trees in the future.
Thank you.
Member Chambers?
Yeah, for the group, could you explain again the locations that this study would be doing? You said city properties, but right-of-way, golf course, anything like that?
Give me 1 second, please, and I will pull that up for you. We are including in the scope of the project the designated parks and public spaces. I can certainly list them if you'd like me to. The entire list is on page 19 of the RFP in the packet material. We are also including all of the city's primary forward-facing facilities, all of our buildings, all of our facilities. What we're not including is the well stations and the lift stations and things of that nature, but all of the forward-facing primary facilities are included. We are also including, we have 3 designated preserves throughout our community. We have the Riverfront Preserve, we have the Scout Park Preserve, and we have the West River Preserve. We're not asking the consultant to go count trees in those preserves, but we are asking the consultant to include those trees when they do their aerial imagery for that canopy, the conditions of that canopy. And then lastly, we have all of the city-maintained and designated roadways and rights-of-way. That will not include county and state-maintained roadways and rights-of-way, and it also does not include properties that are leased beyond what the city currently maintains. Your question about golf course, that would fall under the leased property condition. So even though that is its own topic altogether for trees, it's not included in this work.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
My question's been answered.
Councilmember Kravitz?
Yeah, there's a 6-month time frame for it, I think, for this project.
It's actually shorter than that, sir.
How much shorter?
I believe it's
3 months.
3 months.
They're proposed, again, to start 1st of September and be completed middle of November. Part of how they're able to do that is, as I explained, they had 2 teams. The first goal, one is the inventory, and they'll have a team on the ground doing that, while the second team is analyzing all the aerial canopy coverage. So they'll be doing that simultaneously, so that it allows them to do this quicker than, might normally be done.
Multifaceted.
A little bit faster, yeah.
I don't mean to summon the Furies by accident, but what if there's a hurricane? We're going into that period right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they would take that in consideration, that could prolong it, yes. I mean, obviously, we are still in that, yeah.
Okay, so is there a mechanism for dealing with that delay contractually, or does the contract just automatically continue, or what's the?
The contract is not bound by that projection. That is a projection that was provided by the vendor.
Got it.
Okay. And we understand that there may be adjustments that need to be made to that.
And did I understand correctly that the trees on the golf course will not be inventoried specifically as such, but that they will be included in the canopy analysis?
That is correct. We've asked, the way that the canopy analysis is done is it's done largely through satellite imagery, and there's a lot of science and technology behind that I'm not prepared to speak on, but we've asked that the entire city be included in that portion of the project. For obvious reasons, we could not include the entire city in the counting and labeling. I mean, they're literally going to count, identify, provide identification serial numbers for each tree, and provide us a database. So we had to draw the line at some point.
Sounds fantastic, and I hope that ends up in the document management system at some point.
Very good.
I just have one more item before I forget. The funding for this, thank you, is that coming from the tree fund? Could the tree fund money be used for this rather than general fund?
We have recommended for your consideration that it be paid from the tree fund. The tree fund has 3 primary funding purposes. One is to facilitate the Adopt a Tree program. The other is the planting of trees on public lands, which shall be at the city's discretion. And then the third is the removal of sick, dying, infested, dangerous, and dead trees on public lands. We believe that the second and third bullet points included in the code work could not fit better. We believe it fits perfectly for that.
Fully agree. So when I read this, I see general ledger account, et cetera, et cetera. Is that going to be from the tree fund?
I'm going to try to answer that, but I might have to refer to the finance director. It's my understanding that the tree fund per se is an equity account that the monies rest in until needed, and then when they are needed for expense purposes, they are routed through the various accounts that you see. And in this case, this would be our expense account that would pay this contractual service.
I'm not sure I understand. So is it coming from the tree fund then? Or? Yes. It is? Okay, good. Just making sure that we're not spending money that we could put to good use elsewhere. Okay,
That's just an account number.
got it. Thanks very much.
The money comes from that restricted tree fund for that purpose.
Just for the microphone, he said it's from a restricted account. It'll go through there eventually. That's what I understood. Okay.
Jim Ingram, Finance Director. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The tree fund, as businesses pay into it or any kind of mitigation fee is paid into it, that is a separate pot of money, a separate part from the general fund balance, unassigned balance. And so this will be paid using that account number. That's just accounting. And it will come from the balance, which is about 1.4 million right now. It will come and draw that balance down.
Thank you. Okay, well, nothing else.
I have a quick question. Most of it's been answered, but we do have some historical data concerning our tree canopy. It's been mapped before by USF using LiDAR, and they have used that against some historical aerials. They've actually determined, I don't know how long, it's been 5 or 6 years, I think, since they did it, but they determined that our tree canopy had actually grown by, I think, 70 acres. Don't quote me on that, but that's what it comes to mind, over like a decade. So tree canopy, now that's, of course, that was before Hurricane Milton, so I don't know but when we are mapping our canopy, couple questions. One, will there be any comparison to our historical data to be able to say canopy is growing, it's shrinking, it's static, it's the same? And will it be in the format so that when we do this again in 6 or 7 years, we can then make that same comparison? Because I think to put this in 3D, you really need to, okay, this is what it is today, but how is it compared to a decade ago and a decade from now? Which way are we going? So can you just talk about that?
I'd like to start on that, and then I'll pass over to Mr. Quigley to talk about how his team actually does it. From a city perspective, when the RFP was published, it called out the Division of Forestry statewide tree canopy, which drills down to the municipality level. So we actually have historical data available through the state archive that goes back 12 years. And it's parsed every 4 years, if I recall. Now, to add to that a bit, the next 4-year period would be this year. They are not doing it. They've shared with us that they are not doing it. And so we would be able to rely on our data and compare it to 4 years, 8 years, and 12 years previous history. And would you like to add to that?
Evan Quigley. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me. So the canopy data would be adding to historical data and giving you a sense of how the canopy's grown, what areas you could plant, the community types, tree community types, giving you a direction of growth and a sign to, you can see where you want to go with that direction. It'll be actionable. and a management plan will guide you, but also be adjustable based on the wants and needs of the city.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Quigley.
Thank you.
All right, council, is there a motion?
Yes. Move to approve the contract with Biotech Consulting LLC for urban forest services and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any carryover council business from previous carryover council business? Seeing none. New business and board reports. Our first item under new business is consideration of the proposals to purchase and develop properties located at the Temple Terrace redevelopment area. In our previous CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency meeting at 5 o'clock prior to this meeting, the board recommended to advance one proposal, which we will now hear. And our Community Development Director, Greg Pauley, will kick it off.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor and City Council. As you've just reviewed, the project for 8901 North 56th Street, presented by the Courtside Group, entitled Blazing Paddles, was approved in the CRA board earlier to advance to this process. In just a few moments, I will invite the developers to come forward and make their individual presentation. After the council has seen the presentation, I'd like to recommend that City Council consider one or more of the following options. Council may choose by motion to accept the proposal as it's been submitted and direct the city manager and city attorney to initiate the contract process with the developer. Council may choose by motion to accept the project, but discuss additionally some of the terms and conditions or waivers that have been requested, and ask the city manager and the city attorney to initiate negotiations that would help land terms, conditions, and potential waivers that are more in line with the city's interest. Or finally, council may choose not to take any action at all. And if that be your pleasure, by the end of this presentation, the doorway will remain open, and the developer will hopefully learn from any discussion and make amendments to come back at a future time. We don't want to talk about setting a future time or anything of that nature, because as long as the property is on the market, our brokers are actively working to collect leads. So we would not disqualify or hold the place if it's not accepted through tonight. There's no expectation or obligation for City Council to do any of the above tonight. First, I'd like to ask, do you have any questions of the review process or the recommended request from staff?
Councilmember Kravitz.
Actually, I'm curious, I'm assuming that not every single offer you received was let through. So I'm wondering why this offer specifically was let through, given that it doesn't meet most of the requirements in the proposal.
If you recall from our discussion in February, we had a very robust discussion, and in layman's terms, we took away from that meeting a direction to loosen the reins a bit and to allow projects to come forward that may not have been presented in the past. We believe that this project checks enough of those boxes to at least have an audience in front of you and hear and at least speak to you directly, present their project, and allow you to make decisions and consider it.
So when I'm looking at the purchase proposal requirements, the language I'm looking at is still the old language, but it's now being read differently, or was there an update made to the actual proposal requirements?
The proposal requirements, I'm not sure exactly which page or which piece you're looking at. The proposal requirements have for the most part stayed whole as far as what our brokers are using to vet potential buyer and developer. So that part has, for the most part, stayed whole. What we've done is we've put them kind of at the backside instead of holding them as a roadblock on the front side. Does that answer your question?
I gather that the proposal requirements were not changed in their wording. It's just that they're being read differently. I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that's fine. That's all.
Are we ready to move on, sir? We are. Okay, very good. And now I would like to invite Mr. Jared Woderick and Mr. Stephen Daniluk of the Courtside Group to the podium to talk about their presentation.
Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Pull up the clicker. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I actually have the privilege today to talk to you a little bit about what our concept is for Blazing Paddles and hopefully how we can bring this to be a core in downtown Temple Terrace. So I'll talk about the elephant in the room and introduce myself first as well as my business partner. My name is Stephen Daniluk. I've spent 20 plus years working in for-profit higher ed as well as in ed tech in a variety of leadership roles in both sales, operations, marketing, as well as in multi-site retail, which is a space that I'm currently working in now. What's really important to me is that any project that I'm involved in, much like I have been in my career in education, is truly making a difference in someone's lives. And I believe the concept that we are actually presenting today about Blazing Paddles also matches that need. About a decade ago, I had the opportunity to start working with Jed Woderick on a startup company that was just a concept. And we quickly scaled that business to become one of the fastest growing ed tech companies in history that ultimately led to a sale for $750 million. And with that, I'll introduce you to Jed.
So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council, for taking the time to review our proposal tonight, and congratulations on 100 years. It's a big milestone. To kind of build on what Steve shared there, we started playing pickleball a number of years ago at public courts, and we fell in love with the game. But very quickly, we ended up waiting 30 to 40 minutes between games, and we'd be out there for 3 hours and only play 2 or 3 games. So at that point, we knew that wasn't it, and that there was a shortage of courts across the country. So we started paying for access to courts, and we found thriving pickleball places in surprising and really underwhelming areas. And from that, an idea was born that we can potentially solve this, that we will solve this in a unique way, solve the court shortage gap. So I've been very fortunate in my career to work in an industry where we created life-changing impact through education. I became addicted to kind of helping people find that in their life and to helping them realize their dreams. And I've seen firsthand how pickleball can change people's lives. Of course, you have the activity, the exercise, but beyond that, you have the connection, the community, and the friendships that come from that, and that's where the joy lives. So I'm standing in front of you today, a little bit more than 48 hours after my firstborn son came into the world, and we have the opportunity with building Blazing Paddles to have a front row seat to creating life-changing experiences for a community, but also to have an opportunity to build a business that my son eventually could be proud of. And so we hope that that flagship location will be right here in Temple Terrace. So as we embarked on this journey to take this dream into a reality, we spent the last couple of years traveling the country, state to state, visiting various pickleball clubs. We attended the World Pickleball Conference multiple times, and we noted everything along the way. We saw what worked really well. We saw what didn't work well, whether it was court lighting, court servicing, the flow of customers throughout the venue, the ambiance, the experience, or in some cases the barbed wire around the courts as people are playing. So from that, we really honed in and crafted the vision that we have for Blazing Paddles.
And that truly is, in this presentation, in our vision, is what Blazing Paddles stands for, what's going to separate us and differentiate us, and what ultimately will be a draw to downtown Temple Terrace. So I do want to talk, when Jed and I first started, we're also intelligent enough to know what we don't know and very quickly engaged with advisors that we know in this space In particular, we have a commercial development advisor that has done projects from $5 million to $100 million. I'm fortunate that my brother is actually a civil engineer who works for Jacobs and helped us guide understanding what site layouts would be. And then we have over 30 years of retail experience with Mr. Waderick as an advisor as well. And universally, what they said to us is the success of a project is going to be dependent on the team. You want a experienced team that has a local feel and has demonstrated results. And that led us, and I'd actually like to thank them because they've joined us here as part of this, bringing on Soul Design, Franklin Development, and R Squared Engineering from the beginning.
So you can see like a sample, a small sample of our team's portfolio and very successful and I would say unique projects that they've been a part of. This team is trusted, obviously as experts to us. It was very critical for us that we went out and found the best of the best, but it was also critical to find experts that have experience working in Temple Terrace with this community, and that's what we did as we kind of crafted this team together. So how many people in here, for those that are still here, have played pickleball? Can you raise your hand? All right, how many people know someone that has played pickleball? Okay, that's most hands in the air. And if you don't have your hand in the air, then you likely will soon because it is the fastest growing sport in the country. You can take Anna Lee Waters, who is the #1 rated pro pickleball player in the world. She went professional at the age of 12 years old. On the other end of the spectrum, you can take Joyce Jones, the oldest person on record to compete in a sanctioned tournament for pickleball at the age of 95 years old. The point is, this game, this sport, is for all skills, all demographics, all ages. It's for everyone.
One thing I would also add, if folks are wondering if this is a fad, it's been 3 years consecutive. There's actually a Forbes article that came out in 2023 that talked about if each city were to build courts over the next 10 years with the current demand that they have, they wouldn't be able to catch up. This is a chance to catch lightning in a bottle and set Temple Terrace apart with our first flagship location. So this is a little tough for me to see from here, but we did want to talk about the opportunity. And what's been clear hearing in the conversations and even from early talks with the city and what we're looking to do, what sounds like is really important for this property is a revitalization of the downtown core. And we believe that this business idea will do just that. If you look at the surrounding area of Hillsborough County, we have one major competitor that currently exists, and they are, no exaggeration, it's an abandoned warehouse with no air conditioning and barbed wire that exists, and they have a waiting list to be a part of this. Jed and I, as part of our research, have talked with people from St. Petersburg to downtown Tampa, creating a flagship opportunity like this. This is something that they will travel and drive to, and we understood a destination was an important aspect of what Temple Terrace was looking for in this property.
To kind of build on that, we first sat down and met some members of the city over 15 months ago, and we really honed and refined our vision when we understood what the city's looking for in creating a downtown experience that attracts visitors. We connected with avid pickleball players that live in Temple Terrace, that went to USF, and are incredibly excited about the potential of this idea coming to life. Members have said it themselves that no one's going to drive 20 minutes for a Chipotle, but our belief is that they will drive 20 minutes away for a one-of-a-kind entertainment venue that has pickleball, food, live music, and more.
So to talk through a little bit of the community benefits that we wanted to highlight at scale, our estimates have annual tax revenue exceeding $400,000. We have over 300 daily visitors that are coming through and an increased property value of 25%. But beyond that, what we actually, you gotta click there, yep, is local job creation. We anticipate at least 40 new jobs that are mid to higher paying roles. We talk about the sense of community, and I know that's an important aspect I've heard some council members discuss here. And anybody that has been a part of pickleball pickleball is a community. You are literally drawing people together to experience something that is healthy, fun, and active on a regular basis. And obviously, we feel that this will be a draw to the city of Temple Terrace and help with the downtown revitalization.
So what is our vision? Our vision is to create a premier pickleball place that has 12 indoor and outdoor courts. So whether it is the thick of August, as it is now, and you need air conditioning to play pickleball, or it's the middle of January and you want to be under the blue sky, we've created something that has a little something for everyone when it comes to playing pickleball. Beyond that, you have the full-service restaurant and bar. You have gamification bays that offer a unique experience for players, and then premium amenities that ensure that this is a place that people can spend hours at after they're done playing their pickleball games. So, elevating the pickleball experience. For those that didn't raise their hand or haven't played pickleball, maybe it's because you don't have a group to play with, or maybe it's intimidating to get on the court for the first time and you feel like you might not be great at it. We've designed a player experience for all skill levels that guides them and kind of meets them where they're at by providing game bays that get them comfortable with hitting the ball, or lessons and clinics that help guide them to improve on the court. But for our advanced players, we also have AI technology that we've partnered with Stupa Analytics to provide unique data sets that allow them to really improve their game. It's really important for us that you're bringing the beginners along that have never played pickleball and are having a great time, but for those that are going to play every single day, we need to differentiate ourselves with public courts. So how do we add value to those types of players through the technology and features that we can offer through members? And I promise that we did not know that we would learn so much about the fire department history today, or that the chief of the police staff would be here today. But imagine a world in 2027 where you have the Temple Terrace Fire Department versus Police Department annual tournament, with the proceeds of that going to charity. No. When we say no,
Someone will get hurt.
but when we say we want to be a part of this community, we mean it. And so whether it's getting creative with the tournaments that we host that make a big event out of pickleball, or just having fun with the people that we're engaging with every day. We have a lot of amazing ideas for how we can immerse ourselves in Temple Terrace. The police department versus fire department was an example on this slide months ago before we knew the agenda today. On to the next slide. So this is probably my favorite slide. We are pickleball first, there's no denying that, but we are far more than just pickleball. So whether someone is coming to play pickleball, or they're coming for live music and entertainment, they're coming to have a beer that we brew in-house, they're coming to play shuffleboard or cornhole, or they're coming for a corporate team bonding event, whether you pick up a paddle or you never do, we are creating an experience at Blazing Paddles where everyone can have a great time and engage in a social atmosphere that is energetic, thriving, and more than just pickleball. Because we know, I saw some hands that didn't go up, not everyone's going to play, not everyone has an interest. But if this is to become a staple in the community of Temple Terrace, we have to offer more than just pickleball.
So talking a little bit about our design philosophy, and I know we covered this a bit in the CRA meeting earlier today, as Jed and I toured countless pickleball facilities literally across the U.S., the most clear thing that stood out to us is most folks are grabbing old industrial warehouses, throwing in some pickleball courts, not giving any real thought to the experience, which works for now, but will not be a long-lasting solution in this space. There are some other big corporate partners, but they tend to be restaurant first. And really what our design was focused on was making this an inclusive experience for everything, not just pickleball, not just gamification, not just the restaurant and bar, but the outside fully incorporated into our design.
So one of the biggest concerns that communities might have when it comes to pickleball is the noise. There's no getting around the noise of the ball hitting the paddle, but we've been very intentional every step of this process in how we've looked to mitigate noise reaching our neighbors. We know there's an apartment complex directly behind this facility. We know that the city has certain noise ordinances at different times of the day and that we'd have to be beneath those. So whether it's the specific location of our building acting as a sound barrier to sound reaching those apartment complexes, or it's the materials we're using both inside the building to minimize the pickleball noise for someone just sitting at the bar, or if it's the fencing and materials surrounding the exterior of the space to, again, kind of minimize the decibels that are going to reach both the Fountain Gate shops and also the apartment complexes. We want to be a staple for years to come, and we would have to do that by being great neighbors that are considerate of those around us.
So obviously with smart design, that requires smart waivers, which I'm assuming we can discuss in the Q&A or at a future time. But based on our existing design and our interpretation of everything with the code, these were the design waivers that we would need to seek. And really, just in closing, I know this was a short amount of time to review a lot of information. This is the culmination for us of multiple years of work and what we think will be our first flagship location. We think that this really strikes at revitalizing downtown. We think that it is truly unique. There's nothing like it that exists in the Hillsborough County currently, and we hope you'll consider partnering with us moving forward. So we'd like to actually turn it over to Q&A.
Thank you very much. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Mr. Loeb? We'll take public comment real quick and then we'll open it up.
Quite a few comments on it. Charles Loeb, Terrace Park. I have quite a few comments on this. First of all, in thinking in future terms, you do realize that there's going to be an expansion base for your customer service, plus the fact that you also might be wanting to host tournaments like out of area tournaments. Now, the city itself does not have a hotel in order for you wanting to host, so you do realize that. That's number one. Number two, with the stadium opening up here in 2027, you would have a potential expansion base toward your thing if they allow you to do that. But, something to think about. And, about traffic, or have you thought about the traffic in the area? Also about toward marketing over, to USF, assuming that they allow you to open. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on those things generally.
Mrs. Donahue? We'll call you up at the end of you. Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Donahue. I live happily in Temple Terrace. Several months ago, I was invited to a birthday party in Wesley Chapel. We were like, what the heck? What does this mean? It's a golfing experience. It was at night. We got there. We weren't there to play golf. It's not the real golf that my husband plays, right? We could not believe the crowd that was there. And half of them were watching. They were drinking beer. They were having Cokes. They were eating hamburgers. It was packed. Okay, we could hardly find a place to park. That might be our only problem, is that this thing could be so wildly popular that, we find ourselves with houses that say parking for $5 or whatever. I'm just kidding. We've been looking for something to energize our downtown. Everybody's looked at something. This sounds to me like a really good shot. I understand there are hours to go for negotiating and making sure that this works. But, I'm all in.
Other public comment? Okay. Council questions, Councilmember Fernandez?
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So I'm very aware of the popularity of pickleball at this time. There's an app that people go on to find courts and people to play with, et cetera. Would you, as not a free court, would you be participating in that?
We would, yeah. So there's several different apps. There's Pickleheads and there's Duper that connects the pickleball community with their scores and their performance tracking. So we would certainly want to be a facility that players could come to have Duper specific nights or just events with specific sub-communities that could come to Blades and Paddles. So the short answer is yes, absolutely.
So what would your operating hours be?
So As of now, right now, they are projected at 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. depending on the day. Our goal would really be to meet the demographics where there are, whether it's the pre-work community that wants to come play pickleball before they go on their workday before 8 a.m., or it's the crowd that is available during the day at 2 p.m., or it's the college crowd coming from USF at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We want to be open as long as possible, but we certainly understand that there might be ordinances that we'd have to navigate through. But the goal is as open as much as possible.
So with regard to the live music or the outdoor games, those, at least in your concept, seem to be more geared to people actually coming to your establishment versus just being out in the park. Like, would you be 21 and up, or what is your?
It's a good question. I think some of these smaller details, we are kind of at a crossroads right now where we have invested a lot of our time and energy and resources over the past year. But we haven't invested fully in like the traffic study that kind of aligns to the question we heard from the public, because we have to know that we'd be the property owners and we'd be moving forward here. So some of those smaller questions like that, or sorry, I didn't mean to refer to that as a small question, I apologize. We would still have to work through some of those smaller details, but I don't know if Steve.
Yeah, I think we want to be as inclusive as possible in this. The design really, I think it does hit on the community element of this, right? There are different considerations you have to take into effect if you're allowing 6 and 7-year-old children to play pickleball, and you have to think through different insurances and liability. That is not out of the equation. The reason our hours are long is what we've experienced in visiting just courts. I played this morning actually at 7 a.m. Where it tends to skew on the, starting to be my range, but the older side of things, to the middle of the afternoon to the evenings. We want to be an inclusive environment as much as possible. And so, I don't foresee us preventing anyone from coming in. In terms of music and things that would be happening outside, we would want to do concert series. We would like to have music that is played both indoor and outdoor to create an audience and vibe. We have a full programming schedule we've already started to work through to keep it lively and fresh, bringing people, bringing to that sense of community. So I think a lot of that is just dependent on if Temple Terrace is ultimately the spot where we open our flagship.
And I have another question about design.
Yeah.
One of the features that we've tried to put into effect in this area specifically is a more Mediterranean revival style. But I know that with the garage, I mean, I just came from a college town, so I know what that design looks like. But, are you open to elements that are more along the design style of what we've been trying to put in that area?
So, Mickey, could I actually ask, if you don't mind? I think you had a great way of talking about this the other day. Mickey is from Seoul, and he's our architectural designer.
Yeah, Mickey Rushing, Soul Design. Hello, Mayor, hello, Council. So we've talked about this before when they brought it in, and we've been in this area for so long, and especially that the strip center that's on the corner there is very Mediterranean. Them bringing their brand and that identity into it is very different, whether it's the height or the finishes that are going to be outside. But I do think we can do a very well done trim package to the site and the building and the fencing that meshes in with the overall environment of the entire neighborhood. And so that could help out, they still sort of keep their brand identity of the Blazing Paddles going forward, but then also it's not this eyesore that's in the middle of, what has been created right there at the intersection.
Thanks.
Are you done?
I'm done for now.
Okay. Councilmember
I have some
Chambers.
questions. I have more comments later, but questions.
Questions.
Have you spoken with our Chamber of Commerce about this moving into Temple Terrace?
We have not yet.
Not at this time.
We're not engaged.
I hope you do. Okay, second, have you talked to our Leisure Services Department that's where all the pickleball is played right now?
No, not this
No?
time. We know about the Park and Recs place, and there's Rowlett Park that offers pickleball, but no, we haven't engaged. Most of our interactions at this point have been through this brokers through this process. We've limited our interactions outside so that we didn't kind of step outside the process that we were supposed to be following.
Okay, well, we'll try 3. We'll see if I get 3 no's. Have you spoken, we have a very formal Temple Terrace Pickleball Club that's got hundreds of members now. Have you spoken to them?
We haven't spoken to them, but I've been on their website.
Okay.
So we are aware of them.
Okay. The rest are comments later on.
Okay. Vice Mayor, any questions?
I have no questions or comments later.
Okay, Councilmember Kravitz?
I've got a couple. Are you under the impression that Temple Terrace collects sales tax?
No.
Okay, because on page 4, when it says local economic impact, what I read here is $434,000 estimated sales tax generated from 6.2 million in projected annual revenue. Is that a typo?
Not a typo, no, but it's our annual tax revenue is what we're listing there. It's not necessarily saying what Temple Terrace would receive through that process. We understand that you would receive the property taxes.
Well, it wouldn't be a local economic impact vis-a-vis the sales tax in any case.
I think it would be local for Hillsborough County, but I recognize what you're saying there.
It would indeed. My other question is whether you already have the partnership that you address on page 6 with Stupa Analytics.
We've engaged with them several times, yeah. We don't
You
have a
have a
signed
contract?
agreement with them at this point, but
So no
again, a lot of this is contingent on us moving forward with Temple Terrace before we continue to invest those resources.
I know how these things go. Yep.
Okay.
This is just my 1.5 hour free due diligence for new clients that you're getting right now, just so you know.
Fair enough.
I see that you have 8 million in financing required. You mentioned that you have 600,000, and you're expecting another, 800,000 from a friend? And then it wasn't? Who was?
No, it's $1.2 million that we'll have raised
1.2.
with 15% equity to answer your question in our business.
Sorry. You're raising 1.8 million, of which you're bringing.
1.2 million.
You're raising 1.2, of which you have
15.
600,000.
We have 600,000, we would be the ownership. It's very important for us, right?
Not the direction I'm going with this. So my original number was right. You're getting 800,000 from someone else, right?
1.2 million.
1.8 total with 1.2 from outside investors with 600 directly from us.
Well, you said 1.2 total, right?
No, I said
1.8.
we're raising 1.2.
One point.
Is meaning raising from outside capital.
Okay. I'm going to go a different direction with this because I don't think your numbers are staying consistent. So SBA loan, that's what you said is the source of the rest of the funding?
Correct.
What I've identified here, based on the numbers, is a $1.4 million funding gap, even after you max out your SBA loan, which cap out at $5 million unless you're a manufacturer.
I apologize for interrupting, but that's not correct.
What is the maximum for an SBA loan?
I believe it's 20. You're talking, I think what you're referring to is a 7A SBA loan, which does have a $5 million cap. A 504A loan, which we've discussed with our bankers, has a much higher cap, requires a 20% down payment, which given our total project estimate is where we come up with the 1.8 equity that is needed, which is the 1.2 raised from outside investors and the 600 from us.
So you're doing what's called a double leverage structure. You don't have the equity to get the loan, so you're borrowing money from another person so that you can present that as equity to the SBA loan issuer, and then you double leverage off of that to get the total funding that you may need for this project, which is extremely risky.
I don't know if I would classify it that way. Steve and I are looking to minimize the personal contributions that we're putting up front into this process. We are at a point in our lives where retirement would not be that far away, but this is something that we're incredibly passionate about. But to go on a project like this, we would have to de-risk from our own standpoint by minimizing our personal contributions. Still putting as much as needed, but in order to do that with an SBA loan and minimizing the percent of ownership that we would give away, this is the structure that we've come up with. It's very important that if the two of us are here in front of you presenting this vision, that we would be the individuals owning and operating this business, and we can't give away majority share and equity into our business. We do not need the outside capital. If Steve and I needed to, we would fund the entire down payment ourselves, but we're looking to structure this in a way that brings investors that might have experience in certain areas that might be really helpful for the business overall, as a value to the business, not a necessity.
Yeah, I get that you're basically a startup and that you appear to be in a process of getting all of the pieces in place. but for whatever reason, would you agree that you are front-loading the property acquisition before your business is actually ready to go?
I wouldn't agree with that, no.
So when is your business ready to go then if you don't have financing, you don't have the partnerships that you advertise, and your tax revenue projections are incorrect?
Chicken and egg problem at this point. Again, we're not the owners of the property, so we cannot fully secure the SBA loan or bring on outside investors until...
You're going to use the property as collateral for the SBA loan.
I'm sorry.
Is that
I don't understand your question,
You just
sir.
said that you're not getting the other pieces in place because you need to get the property first before you proceed to get the loan.
We are not going to sign our names to an SBA loan if we're unsure that we would be the owners of this property. We are not going to bring on outside investors to terms.
I misunderstood. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm done.
I have a few questions. Take a breath.
Please, Mayor.
Okay. So, please help me to the best of your ability here. I realize that you may not know the answers yet to some of these.
Sure.
Do you know yet whether your restaurant and bar area would be a themed restaurant and bar? Would you contract that out to a local restaurateur like a Gon's Mart, or do you intend to run the restaurant and bar yourself? Because I don't know anything about pickleball or restaurants, but I do know that it's much different to run a restaurant and a bar than it is to run a pickleball. So what's your plan for that if you have one?
That it is. We have certainly explored the idea of food trucks and outside vendors to run the restaurant, but we made the decision to run it ourselves, particularly to obtain a liquor license in the state of Florida. It is very challenging to do so, or very costly to do so. But if more than 50% of your revenue is coming from non-alcohol, so from food, then that process is much more, is much cheaper at that point. So one of our advisors was on the slide, and I apologize, that slide it's hard to read all the details on there, but he brings 30 years of experience managing restaurants such as Dunkin' Donuts, Taco Bell, KFC's, Ponderosa's, hotel chains. He would be an active member of our advisory team. So with his experience kind of guiding us on this process, we would be owning and operating the restaurant and the pickleball aspects ourselves.
So and the reason I bring that up is I get the pickleball thing. I understand. I know. But in our particular city, the restaurant and bar is a big motivator here in this city because we're kind of not fine dining, but casual dining short. We only have a few options. So the restaurant and bar, I think, are important to our constituents really as much as the pickleball. The outdoor concert venue, I think, is important to our constituents as the pickleball. A lot of people in the community are looking at this and don't play pickleball, but man, I'd like to have another restaurant, a nice bar to go to, an outdoor concert series. That's kind of a cool Florida Avenue Brewing kind of place out back. That's cool.
Yeah.
But so when you talk about the food trucks possibility and stuff, I'm like, don't.
That was an early idea.
That was an early idea, and that's why I think Jed was clarifying, that we would be the owner and operators of the restaurant and bar.
Okay, and some of this is, I don't want to go into comments, so it's questions, but I think you're going to find in the comments section here that's coming up pretty quick. I can't speak for anybody except myself. I like this concept. I will be in favor, at least one of us will be in favor of advancing this discussion with you. I like it. I think it's a good fit. My question for you is, there's some things I know already in these two designs that are going to be sticking points. The selling price may be a sticking point. I'm counting the number of parking spaces. I'm looking at the two options in order to comply with the CRA. I don't know how dug in you are with all of this. I think your chances of success go much higher if you're still willing to work with our staff and talk about some of this stuff. There will be some catch points in this. So anyway, are you still, is this shaking down the funnel to the point where it's this or nothing, or are you still
No, I think our goal coming in here is alignment on the vision. The way that process was described to us is that, if we were to move forward, there would be a purchase and sale agreement, but there would also be a developer's agreement. And we understand that there'd be a lot of details to hash out. And so we are flexible on components of what we put forward in changing that.
I would say I totally agree. We want to work with the city on this. That being said, if we have to fundamentally, completely redesign our facility, I think that's a non-starter for us.
Yeah, well, I don't think that would be, okay. Other questions, Councilman?
And if I may, Mayor, to go back to your earlier comment, the example I'll give you is we certainly are not brewmasters coming into this process, but what Steve kind of articulated at the onset is that we are good operators. So creating a restaurant and bar that is a place that local residents would want to go to. We were actually at the World Pickleball Conference when we started engaging with a vendor that can support the in-house brewing process for craft brewing. So it's those types of partnerships and opportunities and experts that we're always going to look to partner with to create a unique experience for both the pickleball players and the non-pickleball players.
Council members, other questions before we enter the discussion? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, I know that normally we would go right into a motion, but I think under the circumstances, it'd be appropriate to have a little discussion first, so. Councilmember Fernandez.
I like the concept. I am very familiar with going to places in Seminole Heights where they're actively engaged in some sort of game activity as well as hanging out, and it attracts a lot of people, families as well. So I do like that concept. And I know how popular pickleball is, and I know people are traveling all over trying to find courts. So I do believe that it would be an attractor, as well as including the other aspects. So with the music and the, believe it or not, shuffleboard is becoming popular, and but it just familiar with the age group that seems to have a lot of disposable income, and they like to go to facilities like this, and they like to play these games and be outside and hang out, and they like craft beer, and so everything about this concept I think would be an attractor. I know that I have some concerns about the design elements, and one of my concerns, which it's not a non-starter for me, but it is a concern, and that is the orientation of the parking lot. I understand why you've designed it the way you have. I know that we were trying to keep the parking, we're trying to create more of an urban aesthetic, but I also know that we have to be practical, and I know that communities don't spring up, except maybe Celebration, but things happen more organically. So you have to, I don't expect perfection, so, but this does a lot of things to activate the area that I've been looking to do. So I would be in favor of moving the process forward.
Councilmember Chambers, councilmember and member of the Temple Terrace Pickleball Club, Chambers.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I would like to see the project move forward also. But I have some of the same concerns. The design difference between what your concept is and the requirements of CRA, the desirable, less desirable plan, something like that. But those are things that can be worked out and come back to us on that. I think the purchase price of the property is a little low. That's just my opinion. But again, that's something to be worked out. I don't think there's any conflict with the Temple Terrace Leisure Services and their pickleball program. It's totally different. Recreation pickleball and the other concepts are different, and there's plenty of pickleball players to go around. But that's something I wish if we move forward that you make sure to talk to our Leisure Services Department on that. The concert venue and stuff, I know this council has talked about a project down there to maybe have a public space where there's programming and stuff. I think this fulfills that. Plus, we, the city, don't have to try to plan those things. I think that's big for us, my opinion. If, I know there's not a lot of room in your building, but as a senior pickleball player, can you get into a contract with a first aid company to, down there? There's a lot of injuries down there. And the same for our leisure services department. Maybe you could, anyway, that's all, you know. Anyway, those are my comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I too like the concept. I think it's great. I applaud your entrepreneurial spirit in this thing. It's a lot of vision, a lot of forethought. We got some things we got to work out, but as Mr. Pauly had indicated, this is an opportunity for us to at least, accept the project concept and move it forward so that you can work closer with the city and with the staff so that we can, iron out some of these issues. I too like the fact that you're willing to do the outdoor part of the concert. I never was in favor of the city get involved with that because then the city's got to manage it and clean it and book whatever. So I think that solves a lot of concerns that I had. Love to see a microbrewery, but there's other issues that have to be addressed with that. But again, I'd like to see the project move forward. Maybe we can work on the price. Maybe if you can come up with some additional amenities or additional benefits to it, maybe we could increase the sale price to it. But to me, it's not necessarily a deal killer. I can see you guys have done the research into the product, the markets. I've done this stuff in the past with M&A, and I know what has to be done, and I applaud. I think you've done a lot of hard work. You've did a lot of lead work, and I'm sure you know what your financing needs are and so forth. But I would like to see it move forward, and let's go to the next step and see what we can do with this puppy. Thank you.
Councilmember Kravitz.
I don't have much to say. If we proceed with this, what I would recommend is that we protect ourselves with a clawback provision that will apply, for example, if and when their financing falls through, either at the private equity stage or subsequently when they're going to get an SBA loan or a bank loan or whatever they plan to do. I think that we need to understand that right now they have $600,000 in the pot. That's what they're bringing to the table. Asking them to up the price for the property from 1.4 to 2 million isn't going to work when they have that kind of a funding structure. So I think it becomes even more important to insist that we be given their financial statements, which was one of the item number 6 here in the purchase proposal requirements. I think we need to see exactly how much funding they have, because I'm not sure what entity is even purchasing this property. Is it an LLC? Is it incorporated? Is it them personally? Because it sounds like they're just kind of putting cash into a pot as friends and then talking to another one of their friends, which I've seen a billion times in tech companies. It happens all the time. But we should be clear about what is purchasing this property. Is it them? Is it a company? What's going on there? Why isn't there more than 600,000? And that 600,000 is going to burn off really fast. So as soon as they start hiring experts like architects and so on, that money will rapidly disappear, and then it'll be their private equity money that's being burned or their loan money that's being burned, and that's going to be before they've even broken ground, I would estimate. So going forward, what we don't want to have happen here is a dead on arrival project that never actually gets executed. So I think the concept is charming, apart from the fact that I've pointed out a few issues that don't really make sense in the pitch deck. But we need to really make sure that we protect ourselves when it comes to getting the property back if this doesn't work out, so that we don't end up in a situation where they turn around and sell it to someone else for more money, which we've all seen happen before. The other thing I'll point out is that this is a step up from apartments in terms of what it's offering people in Temple Terrace. But I would like to see the amenity structure come out a little bit more with this. And the final thing I'll say is this is exactly what I was worried would happen earlier, is that as soon as it gets to the stage at the city council, it develops its own dynamic and it kind of becomes the default option that we're all going to go with. And I would suspect that if we were to go back on the market and lower the price on the property to 1.4 million, that we would get a lot of really interesting proposals, because that's a really good deal. And what I've personally experienced is when a property is overpriced, you only get bad offers. When a property is properly priced or slightly below market, it'll find its value quickly. And you'll get a much better qualified tenant or purchaser than you would if you overpriced the property in the listing. So those are my thoughts. I think this is not fleshed out enough to proceed. I would be happy to let the developers go back and work on it and come back, for example, with some actual company documents, financial statements, a better drafted pitch deck, which doesn't assume that Temple Terrace is going to get property sales taxes. So there are a lot of things there that I'd like to see fixed. I'm going to be a no vote on this for that reason. If you all want to proceed, then I really encourage you to take my advice earlier and my suggestions there seriously, because we don't need another situation where this development fails because there's no money behind it, or something else that's shinier catches the developer's attention and they just abandon ship and sell it to someone else. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. So a couple comments to make. Well, council,
No, go ahead.
oh, okay. Just by random, about 2 months ago, I happened to be in a conversation with Daryl Shaw in Ybor City, and he was talking about the warehouse that, Adamo, that they've opened up as a pickleball court, and you very adequately described it. It's really an abandoned warehouse that they've rolled up some doors to give some air, but it's not climate controlled. It's an old garbage warehouse that really will come down when something else goes up. And they've just got pickleball courts in there, but it's open air. And he said somebody persuaded him to do it. He's like, I didn't think that was going to work. But we weren't doing anything with the building, so I said, well, what the heck? And he said, we've got people from Riverview, from St. Pete, from Clearwater, from Brandon, from Plant City. He goes, we got people coming from Lakeland. We have people coming from everywhere. He goes, you're lucky if you can reserve a court. He goes, they're printing money at this place. It's packed all the time. So I thought that was interesting. I just happened to have this conversation, not because of this project, just because I was talking to Mr. Shaw. The other thing I think it's important for us to remember is because we're Temple Terrace City Council, we tend to focus within our borders, but we really need to think regionally here a bit too. So right on the horizon, we've got the USF football stadium coming. Maybe even more importantly for this, we have the Mosey development. The Mosey development is going to be a mixed-use development. There will be a hotel there. There will be an indoor sports facility there, not for pickleball, for traveling leagues, soccer, whatever kind of. There'll be an indoor sports component to that project, along with mixed-use residential, the typical retail on the bottom, residential on the top that we've tried for decades to get. It may be a blessing in disguise that we didn't get it because we're starting to see so much of that. I'm not sure that that's really. The other thing on top of this is the Claw. The USF golf course is going to be developed as well. That's the largest undeveloped parcel in the city of Tampa. That they're looking at mixed use there also. I've had conversations with Tampa and with USF and with Hillsborough County about the importance of us not building three of the same things. We don't need to build what they're going to have it. We're going to compete with Mosey and the Claw are already trying to deconflict because they're worried about competing with each other by building the same thing. I think this really could be a great thing for Temple Terrace. I have some concerns, but I think this could really be a great thing. This could put us, there's nothing like this. The closest thing is the open air warehouse in Ybor City. There's nothing like this. We all know we could use another nice restaurant or bar. The pickleball thing is on fire. My concern months ago when I first heard of this was, everything has a life. Handball was a thing, paddle, everything's got a life. And pickleball will too. Eventually, there'll be the next thing, right? Remember when paintball was the big deal? Everybody's going out paintball. I mean, it'll be the next thing. But this building, the way this is laid out, could easily pivot to the next thing. It could be changed to the next thing. And so I think, I'm excited about this. I really want this to move forward. Now, I'll be candid with you. There are some questions, right? And your ability to financially perform will need to be vetted in this. That we've been through this process with other city-owned properties. We don't normally do that kind of stuff at this stage. But there are, remember when the Erickson thing fell through because when their financials came in, it didn't. Remember, that was years ago. So there's that. I am concerned. I share some of those concerns. I think you've heard from all of us that we're a little sketchy on the sale price. I'm not sure that I've got a warm fuzzy about that. The site plan. I think it's important that you honored the Mediterranean revival architecture to the extent possible because you're at the core of our redevelopment area. But I don't see why you couldn't do that. It's stucco and fake tile. It's not, it seems like you can make any building look like that. I hope, and I would like to see our team work together with you to come up. I'm not convinced that your preferred option is the best that can be done. And I'm counting the parking spaces and I'm like, look, I know this is just a concept, but I'm counting on a square this big, but I'm only counting like 42 parking spaces and I'm doing a little rough math. Well, if you got 12 pickleball courts and there's 4 people on each one, that's 48 people right there, and there's nobody in your restaurant yet. So it seems like there's some things to work out on the site plan. But I would like to see this project, us give our staff approval to meet with the broker, meet with you guys. Let's look at the site plan. I hope you're willing to roll up your sleeves a little bit, honor our tradition, what we're trying to build down there in terms of appearance and feel and, parking, and make this fit better. The other thing that crosses my mind, I know I'm talking a long time, but I'm excited about this one. The other thing that crosses my mind is we've got these plans for that Riverside Park. Well, this dovetails perfectly with that. We're bringing people in from all over the place into our city, and now we have this recreation opportunity and dining opportunity. You can also walk right across the street and go paddling, or go canoeing, go paddle or kayaking. I mean, this is what we've been trying to build in our city is to make there's stuff to do in the downtown. Right now, you go into Jersey Mike's, you get your lunch. There's nothing to do. This will provide things to do in the concert series outside. I would not be interested in this design at all if you didn't have the concert space. Just go ahead. Yeah, I'll shut up.
I just wanted to say though, we do get sales tax.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that for anybody listening, that may have been their full tax effect for the total business, but Temple Terrace does receive a portion of sales tax from Hillsborough County for businesses that are located in the city of Temple Terrace. So it's certainly not the largest funding item on our general fund. And then we would also get, the property tax and the TIF from the area. But I just wanted to clarify that in case somebody thought we don't get any sales tax. We do. And then I have the same reservations about the funding stream. I mean, I'm not a developer, but I was an auditor. I was a financial auditor, and some of my clients were real estate investment trusts, and I am familiar with the development process. So I am concerned about being able to viably fund, complete, and then have the working capital to run the project, because 95% of non-chain restaurants end up going bankrupt, and it's because they don't have the working capital to keep afloat until the word of mouth and the publicity takes effect. I mean, having a draw, as the pickleball is, should certainly help that process, but I am definitely concerned because I've done rent rolls for plenty of developments that were rented one month, empty the next. So so the financial piece of this is a concern, and I would ask staff to make sure that we engage the correct real estate attorneys or outside counsel as we need that, to have the real estate expertise to speak on the city's behalf in not just on the city's behalf, but in a manner that is market reasonable. And you know, I can sit here and say, I think we should get $2 million for the property, but if the market's not bearing that, it doesn't matter what we say. So I'd like us to make sure that whatever staff we engage is very knowledgeable about what the city perspective is, as well as what the market generates. So that's it for me.
Is there a motion?
May I speak?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I think that's a great motion. I think that we should engage outside counsel right now, experts in real estate, to accompany this process. So I think that we should get that started tonight. So do you want to make that motion? I'm happy to second it. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Can I do it all in one, or would that need to be two?
So why not?
Okay. So I move that we further the discussion regarding the Blazing Paddles project and engage the real estate attorney experience or experts that we need to help in the process.
Yeah, second.
Discussion?
I'm in favor of moving it forward. I just, I'm not sure to what extent outside counsel is going to do at this moment, so but it should be available as we progress through the project.
I don't see any problem with it, really. I kind of thought that was a good idea. I was thinking the same thing. I was just waiting for a motion, and I was going to bring it up. But I also don't think it's a bad idea to talk to that council about the clawback provisions and things like that. I do know that the city of Plant City learned from our experience with Vlast development back in the early 2000s, where we had to buy our property back after we had given it to them. And Plant City learned from that. They brought Kim Linebaugh over there to talk about their redevelopment that they were doing. And they did do some type of clawback. The property didn't convey until a certain portion of completion or something. I don't know how that worked, but so I don't have any issue with that. I think it's a good idea to engage them, and there is a point in the process where the financial ability to perform is confirmed and stuff. So yeah, seems good to me. Any other comments or discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Other new business or board reports?
Order, excuse me. We were just voting on engaging attorneys, not on the actual agenda item.
No, I combined them.
She combined the motions.
Why you put me in a position of having to vote yes on one because I don't want the other.
Well, I said, can I do it in one or should I do it in separate? And they said I could do it in
I
one.
didn't even
did it
hear
in
the
one.
part about it. That's okay. All right. Whatever.
We'll get vetted.
Okay. Any other new business or board reports? Just real quickly, I went to the Florida League of Cities conference. I got home Sunday. It was a terrific conference. The Florida League of Mayors was on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday was the League of Cities. Very good conference, good speakers, good presentations. I'm waiting for them to upload some of the slideshows so I can share some of them with you. Good. I encourage you guys to take advantage of their training opportunities. They're really very good. The training opportunities are online. You don't have to go anywhere. The conference is always very good. So just a plug for them. That's all I have. Any other new business? Councilmember Kravitz.
I have more work for our city attorney. I would like to explore the legalities of city council members here in Temple Terrace having a social media account. Just wanted to mention that in Tampa, it's very common. I have 4 names here: Luis Vieira, Alan, Glenn Linda Rich, Lynn Hertak, and Bill Carlson, among others, all have social media accounts on Facebook. They engage with people on Facebook. It's not an issue. Under the previous city attorney, there was a suggestion that this was not possible in Temple Terrace. And I was hoping that perhaps our legal department might furnish us with a memorandum justifying that prohibition, or alternatively, perhaps explaining under what specific circumstances and how someone on city council might go about having a social media account. And I just want to clarify, I still hate social media. It is not for me. So, but I think it's still something that we should all be thinking about. And I find it strange that there has been this thing in Temple Terrace that's different from everywhere else that I can tell in Florida. So would you be willing to do that without a council vote, or should I make a motion?
Well, we'd need a council vote on that. I'm willing to do so. It will take some time. I don't want you to think it's gonna come out in a week.
Yeah. How long do you need?
I would probably need till I get a deputy on board and kind of take the load off. It would probably have to be a month out.
Oh, let's say 2 months then.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a motion that the city attorney furnish us with a memorandum on the legalities of social media use by city council members in the city of Temple Terrace, and on how, and to brief us in that memorandum on how city council members in Temple Terrace would go about legally having a social media account for engagement with constituents. So that is my motion.
Motion is second. Discussion on the motion. I will say one thing. First of all, I wish you guys would take advantage of FLC, because all this is talked about in FLC. Every year. The training that you guys don't take would explain so many of your questions here. Social media was talked about just the other day again. Mr. Mueller, I would hope that we can change this motion or vote it down. Here's what I would propose to do instead. You know Randy Mora. Randy Mora is a city attorney for several cities in Pinellas County, mostly, maybe Pasco also. He's a contract attorney. He teaches the block on ethics, the 4-hour block every year at the FLC conference. He's very dynamic. His whole thing, I mean, this is what he does. And he could probably come here. We'd have to pay him. It would be probably more informative and cheaper than you spending a week trying to do what Randy can. Randy can do this I mean, we could call him. I don't know what he would charge us, and we could put this on the agenda and schedule it, and he could come to the meeting, give us basically an abbreviated version of the training that he provides statewide. And I remember when we talked about this a few months ago, Mrs. Schoen never said it can't be done. What she cautioned against I talked about this too. Yeah, other cities do this. Tampa does it. I think Plant City does it. There's a lot of places that do this. County Commission does it. It can be done, but there's an expense to it because it all has to be archived. And I mean, I don't know what the expense would be for the 5 of us, but there is an expense to it. I'm sure it's not like millions of dollars. It can't be that much, but it can be done. But Randy has this already done. I don't know why we would want to spend. I mean, there's a better way to get what you're getting is what I'm proposing.
I already know the answer to the question. I'm just doing this so that we can clear out the, narrative that's been going on for the past several years.
Okay, you know the answer to the question, but you want to put our city attorney through the hoops.
If he's willing to go on record right now and explain to us what the legalities are, then he doesn't have to write the memo. I was giving him 2 months to get his thoughts together. But I think that there's a way of, the thing is, for the last 3 years I've been hearing you can't go on social media. I know that this is not accurate, and I think everyone who looks around can see. So all I'm saying is, why don't we get clarity then about what are the requirements, how can it be done without it being an issue, as is done in many other places. That's all I said, because previously there has been the suggestion by our former city attorney that it is not permissible. And that's why no one here has a social media account, and why, as has been repeatedly brought up by Councilmember Fernandez, when she is engaging with people on Facebook, she does not substantively answer their questions, which is weird.
Yes, Councilmember Chambers.
If we're allowed to have a social media account, I still won't.
I'm with you.
But some of the concerns I have, and it may be part of this, is, and use the example of Councilmember Fernandez, answering questions. It's one thing to answer a question as a council member, but we are one of five, and sometimes we may not speak for the group. We're very careful about not speaking for the group. And I'm worried about that if one person, an example, and I'm not picking on you, but you read social media and one person starts responding because they deal with social media, I don't, then it either looks like I don't do anything or someone's doing everything and they're the spokesman for our council. We have a city staff that responds to social media and a lot of the questions can go through them, but I'm not opposed to having it. I see other issues on it myself. And I don't know about supporting the motion or not. If we have some other experts out there, I don't know if we need an answer tonight or not, but that's just my comments.
I just would say, I'm not opposed to the idea of us exploring the social media, the official social media city account. I'm not opposed to that at all. I am opposed to giving this project to the city attorney because really it should fall on the marketing people. All you gotta do is make a couple phone calls and you can get their social media policy that addresses all the questions and we would know the answers. I just don't see why we're giving this to the city attorney. If we want to know, give us a report on the realities of creating city social media accounts. We just say that. But to give you 2 months of, okay, I want you back in 2 months with a written memo to extract the Florida law, that's not going to answer the questions anyway. We need to get IT and marketing involved to answer the full question. Obviously, you'll have a piece of this, so I'm going to vote no because I don't think it's the right way to do it. But I'm not against doing it. I'm just against, I think we've got the wrong way.
So the reason this comes up often, a lot of times I'm the one bringing it up. It's not a lack of training. It's not me taking a training with the Florida League of Cities. I understand, and I know why we can't do this, and that is that it's not being archived within our city. So I don't have a city-controlled Facebook persona, which is what happens with Hillsborough County School Board, with the City of Tampa, and with Hillsborough County. Those Facebook pages, they're controlled by those government entities. So I do understand that. And I actually do agree with you. I think my question is not really on the legality of it. It's more about the practical application, and that would be what kind of resources would need to be dedicated to this? What would the cost be? What would the staff requirement be? I mean, I would still, even if I'm allowed to interact on Facebook and we had an archived Facebook account for me, I still tend to answer very vaguely because I don't get into, I definitely don't argue on Facebook or social media, and I don't want to get in, when you start going back and forth too much in the printed word, you get a lot of people, anyway, you can be misinterpreted. So I would still be telling people to call me, but as time goes forward, more and more people in the community interact through social media versus emailing us. And so I think it's something that we should know what the options are. But I will agree, I don't think it needs to come from the city attorney because I think we understand the legality, and that's the fact that it's not archived.
Well, there's a little more than that.
But that's a primary, so.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on that, Councilmember Kravitz.
So I think it does need to come from the city attorney for the following reason. The previous prohibition also came from the city attorney. So I think if there is uncertainty because of something the city attorney said, it is not legally sufficient for the marketing department to tell us what to do now. It would have to come from the city attorney as well. And as for the implementation, I would imagine something would be fully sufficient in the same way that we have with our email accounts, where the city accesses and controls the account, and we log in with our credentials and use it as we see fit. Just a thought, I don't know, because we don't have the memo yet, but that would be the goal of the memo, is to just clarify, how does this work? What's required from all the different departments? Is it complicated? Yes or no? Not all that complicated in my mind to put something like that together.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I tend to agree with the logistical issues coming from marketing and so forth, obviously with the city attorney, agreeing with it or naying it. I don't remember any specific admonition against it for the city attorney. It was a warning that it's from Ms. Shoshone, the previous city attorney, warning us that it becomes problematic with record retention and archival and so forth. I don't believe I ever saw anything written that said we can't do it, that it's against any statute or any of our rules. I too, I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the social media realms. But I try to stay away from it. I read, and then I move on, because as Councilman Chambers said, and Allison, Ms. Fernandez does a pretty good job, is to just being vague, call this person or call that person. And there's times that I have to put it away because I want to answer it, and I know it's not the best thing to do. And if I do see something, I call the city manager, or I call Maria, or whoever's there, so they can address the issue. Outside of that, it's only going to cause us an issue. But getting back to the original intention of the motion, I don't remember seeing anything that said we can't do it. We were told not. We was recommended that we not do it. That could cause us a ton of heartburn if there was issues with it. But for city attorney to come out with a memorandum to counteract another presupposed memorandum that I don't remember, I think we could get the same kind of information from marketing with as the mayor had indicated.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion fails 4-1.
Mayor?
New business.
That's new. I have a board report, but I also would like to make another motion on this issue.
Okay.
And my motion would be to direct the city manager to work with the city attorney and the marketing staff and the IT staff and whoever he needs to consult with the Florida League of Cities to come back with a report with us without jeopardizing all the other projects and the time and the effort that he's been doing lately. I know it's a weird motion, but that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Other new
I have a
business?
board report.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said
Yes,
you had a board.
okay, sorry. Last Wednesday was a scheduled code board meeting, and it went off fine, but I wanted to recognize Mr. Shanks. It was his first meeting as director running that meeting, and Ms. Sater for reading all the different cases out there. She did a great job, but both of you, thank you for your first meeting. That's all.
Good. Other new business, board reports? Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Mr. Hill, could you bring up the slide, please? So, as we indicated at the town hall last week, it is moving, I'm sorry for that. It's not moving on the big screen at least, so. As we indicated at the town hall, CHA, and we have Bart Jones here from CHA tonight, they did well sampling back on July 30th, and we have received the results. They've been reviewed by CHA. They're shown here on the screen. We will upload this to the city's water questions page tomorrow as well. And when we did the well testing, as the gentleman from CHA mentioned at the town hall, purpose of that was to get a full understanding of the PFAS issue across the water system. But we were also looking to see if there were any particular wells that had less versus more, for example, contamination. And what we find here is that it's pretty generalized across. There is not a single well that you could say, okay, if we shut this one down or increase production in another one, that'll make the difference in and of itself. So what this does is it reinforces what we concluded last week, which is we need to find a treatment solution. We are having conversations with CHA, and they've reached out to Southwest Florida Water Management District because actually one of the residents that was one of the professional engineers had an idea about possibilities of different well structures that might help us mitigate some of this issue. So they're having those conversations as well, in addition to doing all the other work to get us to a solution within the time frame indicated. Just wanted to share that with you and the community this evening. And again, we'll put this on the website tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. B.
And that's, one more thing real quick, if I could ask the Director of Public Works to come up. Mr. Loeb had a question earlier today about the walk signal at 52nd and Fowler, and I think Mr. Warrenfeld has an answer.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Jason Warford, Public Works Director. So as I have constant and quick communication with the vendors that are working with FDOT on the Fowler project, I posed a question to them about 52nd and Fowler, the pedestrian signals. As all of us know, when we travel across Fowler, currently there are ridges from the milling that they're doing. So they will not open the pedestrian crossing until the ridges are gone, till the friction surface is down. So it's anticipated to be middle or at the end of September. So they do not want to create an ADA compliance issue if they open the pedestrian crossings and there's those ridges in the road. So that is as soon as it'll be open.
Thank you, Mr. Warrenfeld. Oh, I thought you.
So
Yes,
just
Mr.
one
B.
final thing. You all had the pleasure of listening to our new senior planner, Alyssa Livingstone, do a presentation here this evening. I wanted to introduce her and I also want to introduce our new city planner, Joe Moretta. They're both already, they're running. They're on high-speed action in the department. There's a lot of work to be done. But if they could just wave at least, so we get a face. There you go. That's who they are. That's all I have.
Very good. Any other business? Oh, city attorney's report. Nothing. Okay, any other business to go? You're not bringing up anything. The building could be on fire. You wouldn't bring up anything. Any other business? If not, we will be adjourned.
Thanks.